Okay,
He's not
do you have a
selling that little
presentation?
lawnmower, is he?
Here we go.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Other than
I think,
just
let me read that one too.
See, what we're.
Before.
Hey, Jack,
11, yeah, it's 10.
Yeah.
Jack's here, so
Oh, I was say Jack
I'll
will be
let
here.
you,
I just saw him walking up to the door.
Okay.
I come around there by Carl's office. Okay, I'll come over there.
I'll come open the door for you.
I'll go
Oh,
remote
we should have knocked on Colleen's door, window.
do that. Can you see me if I remote it?
Yes, we can see you.
Oh, then, I don't wanna do that then.
If you have a camera on your computer, yes. If not, then we can't see you.
I could put a piece of tape over
Yes, you
my
can do that
laptop,
too.
couldn't I?
But she's just thinking, idiot.
Well, what?
Hey, Mountains, how you doing? I had to.
I know, that was funny.
Whoa.
I'm sorry, I should have warned you about that, Dad.
Sorry.
Someone took my extension cord over here. I'm sorry.
Dusty, does this other blue cord need to be plugged in?
No, that one was unplugged to let the polycom run.
Okay, good, thank you.
Didn't you get one?
No, keep all three of those,
Oh, you didn't take that with
I
you,
need all three of those?
Mark.
yes.
Oh,
You're all three.
I always like it.
Hey, how are you? It's been a while.
I had a slight and fire,
Yeah, I remember that, tell me that, yeah.
but it's all back up and running.
I'm not
They
here.
put huge engine oil into it, and then they got my hydraulics and then they took that and some of the story. And then they cut it
That's a
out.
6-cylinder engine.
We're all three of those.
So, and
They go that way.
some didn't make it, you know, so, and I have a bunch of pedal factories that.
So I probably got two.
we don't know.
No, those are all three the same, different. Just the wording that I wanted you guys to have.
Are we all
Did you
set?
print out some more, Tracy?
Huh?
Did you print out some more?
This is something else.
Okay.
This is millage stuff.
Did you print yourself the,
No,
yeah, she got an email.
So.
Yeah, I didn't get in here.
But
Okay,
I
so we're gonna hear.
last night,
Oh,
so
yeah.
you would have them this morning, so.
So the email, you weren't
Is
gonna.
everything good?
Thank you very much, I appreciate that. Well, I
Talk
didn't-
about, change my
Okay.
call.
Yeah, well,
So
I
you
added you
was
and
a
I
good
added
be
these
here.
else.
and
Oh,
it's
I did
worked
look at
out.
that.
The calls are open every once in a while, if you talk about both well and that kind of stuff.
Okay, are we all set to go? You ready, Lori?
I am.
Well, welcome everyone that's out there to our Board of Commissioners meeting. If you would join me in the pledge, followed by a moment of silence for our veterans, first responders, and remember in these difficult times.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, roll call please, Lori.
Majeski?
Here.
Pittsburgh? Strauss?
Here.
Feinhardt?
Here.
Fitzpatrick?
Here.
Hopefling?
Here.
Pasco?
Okay, has everyone had a chance to look over the agenda? If they're happy with it, could I get a motion to approve it, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Moved by Dale, seconded by Samantha to approve the agenda. Any more discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Jack, can I remind you, we need to do a roll call vote for each motion when it's on Zoom?
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, you weren't here at the last one, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
So,
Okay, Majeski,
Here.
yes, is that a yes?
Yes.
Pittsburgh,
Yes.
Strauss?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Hoefling,
Yes.
Haskell,
Yes.
Kleinhardt.
yes.
Thank you.
Okay, have you looked over the minutes? If so, could I have a motion for that, please?
I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes.
I'll second.
Moved by Samantha, seconded by Dale to approve the minutes. Any more discussion? Kate, roll call?
Pittsburgh,
Yes.
Majeski,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Hoefling,
Yes.
Haskell,
Yes.
Kleinhardt.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
do we have a limit on the number here in the window
We're supposed to be
under
on 10.
Whitmer's rule?
Yeah.
I just, curious. Dale never wondered about it.
I don't know. What do we got in here?
We can't have more than 10.
11, 12.
You go to my office if you want.
I'll step out.
Well, do we need to, I guess, you're gonna need to have one more go, or if we're gonna stick to that.
I mean, is that law? I don't know. Is it just a recommendation from the governor? Is it
Well,
law or what?
that's part of her executive order, but. There's a lot of,
I think Tracy
You're
should
gonna
stay.
do this next, go.
I can do that.
well, I would think so, yeah, okay. Dawn's going.
I'm not afraid of Whitmer, but I wouldn't want to get cross-raised with the attorney general. Man, he's
Big guy.
Huh?
Big guy.
zero.
Okay,
Oh, the lieutenant governor. That's
There's
what-
no attorney general.
all right then. Roll call, Laurie.
We already did it for the minutes.
Well, this is for the Board of Commissioner minutes.
Did someone make a motion? I'm sorry. They
Just
did it.
thinking, is that the motion you made?
Yeah, we already did it.
Samantha
For the
did,
minutes?
Dale
Yeah.
seconded.
I think we did roll call.
I did roll call on the minutes.
Well, we did on the first one. But there's another.
I can do it
Okay,
again.
Never mind.
Okay.
General public comment. Anyone want to address the board out there? Okay,
I do not see any public comment.
okay, thank you.
Hey, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
could we get a name of the people who are watching on the thing there? Just curious. We have the information, do we?
I can read the list off of who's participating.
Yeah. But that's all right with Chairman.
Yeah, that's fine with me. I didn't know if he could do that, so didn't know if he had them. All right.
Presently connected to the meeting is Alexandria Shunk, Beamer J, Brubaker R, Chapman J, Christina Chartier, Cindy's iPad, D Law, Dale Hugel, Dan, Davis K, Deb Hoyt, Debbie, Denise, Dodson B, Donald Van Bon, Dunn B, Dwayne Majdanowski, Gail. There's a couple of phones here called Galaxies. Haley Channels, iPhone, Jake Owen, John, Joy Bringald, Karen Moore, Carl Hauser, Ken Hoyt, Kim Dewey, Male 1A, Marlena Tarian, Mel, Merritt D, Monica Law, Paul Rogers, Peggy Chaff, Pete Preston, Polly Zombeck, Sandra Bristol, Shalise D, Swartz E, Sherry J. Spoolman, SMT537V, Stacy G, Steven Sense, Tom's iPhone, Vicky, Wolfgang C, Donald Van Bon, and Hicks R.
Excuse me, he said Dan, but it's Chris Piaczyk, not Dan. I don't know why it says Dan.
Well, I thank you, everyone, for taking the time to join us. That's the biggest turnout we've ever had for a Board of Commissioner meeting. So, anyway,
Thank you.
that's quite a list, wow. I think I already asked any general public comment, and nobody replied, so. Communications list, is there anything on the list that, you guys would like to, talk about? I didn't see anything, but is there anything on that? Nothing. Okay. Administrators report, Tracy?
I had sent, laid out some, the millage proposals that we had discussed, some time ago, and I just wanted to give you copies of those so that you had those to look over, so that we could discuss those at a later time. I've been doing some research on the whole furlough, unemployment. I had a conversation with the department heads this week, this last, or Monday, and we talked about the differences between the furloughs and unemployment. And basically furlough and unemployment are pretty much the same thing. But furlough is basically guaranteeing the employees' jobs. They're allowed to keep their health insurance, accrue vacation, sick time, that sort of thing. But with being off, they're still able to collect their unemployment. So just wanted the board to keep in mind, if that is what they're choosing to do, that you make a motion today that because we have a 10-day leeway that we have to give to all the unions according to their contracts, that if this executive order were to go past the end of April, that's what your plan is to do. So we need to make that decision today if possible, just so that we're able to give the unions that 10-day notice.
Okay, let's refer that to new business. We'll discuss it.
And the only other thing I had was that when this does come back, when we are coming back from COVID-19, I think it's going to change the way we do business. We kind of discussed it a little bit at the department head meeting on Zoom about how that's going to look. Are we going to be opening the doors completely and allowing all these people to come in, or is it going to be done by appointment, or how are we going to be able to do those things? Because I think it is going to change the way we operate.
Well, I agree. Until we get some order from the governor, though, we don't know what's going to happen.
Correct. Right.
I think that everyone realizes it's going to change the way we do business. No doubt about that.
Right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Kristi Noem is the governor of South Dakota, a state that I visit frequently. He says we don't have to give up a lot of our freedom just for a certain amount of security. You know, South Dakota's a different state than Michigan, of course. But
Yeah, they got some problems in their packing plants out there, that's for sure.
yeah, but I say, you know, in times like these, you know, we're eager to, you know, to say, become more of a police state than, they will live for the common good, you know. Down the road for grandchildren and children, decisions we make may not be the best for them, for their freedom.
Okay, anything else?
Nope.
Okay, Pete, are you out there?
Did you want the community services report?
I'm sorry, I looked right over that, yeah,
Okay, Lori asked me to give her report,
Okay.
if that's okay?
yeah, that's fine, thank you.
You're welcome. She said reporting requirements for senior services is now weekly as opposed to monthly. We're working to create a mobile application for permits for the building department. Hopefully we can roll that out soon. We have an online application, but it isn't mobile friendly, so we need to change that ASAP. Effective March 31st, I had to lay off 3 people. Our daycare director, our non-emergency medical transportation driver, and our office clerk in the building department. Pam O'Loughlin and I are combining our efforts in writing a grant for small businesses in Clare County. The turnaround is quick, so we have to have it done by the end of next week. It is through the CARES Act, and we are asking for $1 million. I am hoping to leverage revolving loan fund money that we have, which is over $100,000. The allocation for senior services for 2021 came out Monday with a deadline of only a week to get it in. This is all I have for now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Lori. Okay, Pete? Is Pete out there?
I see him there.
Okay,
I'm here, Mr. Chair.
okay. Do you have anything to report, or you just want us to go through and pass the resolution for you?
Well, yes, passing the resolution would be a great thing because we're required to do that before May 4th for the state. This is the equalization session of the Board of Commissioners. We do studies annually. We give the assessors a target to meet. Then in March and April, we make sure they met that target, and then the Board of Commissioners equalizes. If I may, I'd like to share a quick screen with you. I don't know if it'll necessarily, if the Board of Commissioners can see it. If I were to share a screen, would the board be able to see it?
They should be able to see it.
We'll
Okay.
try.
Okay. And hopefully you folks can see that essentially assessed values in the county went up 6.55% essentially. What was interesting though is that the taxable value went up 3.5%. The inflation multiplier was only 1.9. It meant that we saw quite a bit of activity in sales and such in the county over the last year. So we have done some projected revenue. So we're looking at a 3.5% increase in taxable value. That looks like an additional $180,000 to the county's revenue on summer collection. For the winter levy, senior, transit, and 911, senior would be about 29,000, transit would be about 11.5, and winter levy would be about 13.6. So what this does is just give you a better idea that that the county did grow at last year. There was a significant amount of turnover for that taxable value to go above 1.9%. So that's all I have, and I'll be more than happy to email this to Tracy so she can distribute it to you folks.
That would be great. Thank you.
I have a question,
Mark?
Chair. Can you give us some idea of where the main changes were? Was it vacant land turnover, vacant land? Was it new construction? What was the changes in, that?
We wouldn't really be able to put our finger on it, but it was just turnover. That it seemed like the economy at that time was last year between January 1 and December 31 of 2019, it was more robust than it's been in the past couple of years.
I guess one of the driving factors that I've been hearing about is vacant land. Some of the vacant farmland has been going up considerably in value. There's been some exorbitant prices being paid. Just trying to figure out if that's the main driving force behind these values going up, or I mean, it makes a difference if it's the land, vacant land that's moving, is it our housing, is the housing worth more, is that selling for more, moving more, you know, what's the driving factor behind this increase?
Well, we can definitely dive into that more for you folks if you're interested. We'd have to go back and kind of pull some of our studies of what changed. Ag values have been going up quite significantly. However, those are usually effects on assessed value, not the taxable, not the revenue side. The reason is because folks that buy ag land typically do what's called a PA 260, and that keeps the ag value, taxable value, from uncapping. So very often agricultural values are kept down at whatever the rate of inflation is. Most of the times in communities, rural communities, residential is going to play a much larger factor in increases in taxable value. But we can definitely look at that and get you some feedback.
Well, that'd be good. I mean, I like to hear that the housing side of things is the larger drive there, because that to me plays into a better economy for our community. That means people are, you know, buying houses in our area, people are moving around, making improvements to their property. Vacant farmland is just that, vacant farmland. It's probably was farmed, it's going to continue to be farmed, and it may not play as much of a role in our local economy as seeing housing move and housing changes. So, thank you.
Agreed.
Anybody else have anything for Pete? Okay, thank you, Pete. And,
Thank you.
Leonard, would you take that resolution?
Okay. Motion to accept the equalized value recommendation presented by the county equalization director of $1,378,032,082 for Clark County set forth in resolution 20-06.
Could I have a second, please? David? Moved by Leonard, seconded by David to accept the equalized value recommendation. Any more discussion on it? Roll call, please, Lori.
Strauss,
Yes.
Copeland,
Yes.
Casco,
Yes.
Majeski,
Yes.
Pittsburgh,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Meinhardt.
Yes. Thank you, Pete.
Thank you, and I'd like to just say one more thing if I could. I'd really like to thank both Tina Moore and Tracy Brewbreaker. Tina stayed on past her retirement a little bit, helped Tracy out tremendously, but Tracy has really picked up the ball and moved forward. And so I just want to give a shout out to her and let the board know that she has done an exceptional job given the circumstances.
Okay, thank you, Pete. Okay, let's turn the page here. David, would you like to take number 1?
Okay. Motion to allow the prosecuting attorney to hire an assistant prosecutor to fill an already existing and budgeted position that is vacant as of March 13th, 2020, with a salary to be set somewhere within the $40,000 to $50,000 range, depending upon experience of the chosen applicant. The salary of the new attorney hire will not exceed that of the outgoing assistant prosecutor, who was paid at the top of that range, specifically $50,384.70, or in the alternative, to allow the prosecuting attorney to hire a paralegal at the entry-level pay scale in the union contract, which is $20,083, which is $14.87 an hour, or legal secretary at the entry-level pay scale in the union contract, which is $27,007.13, which is $13.85 an hour, to fill an already existing and budgeted position that will be vacant as of March 31st, 2020. The prosecuting attorney may utilize her discretion in determining which individual within those two categories best suits the needs and requirements of her office to fill one vacancy in her office.
Thank you, David. That was quite a long one. Can I have a second, please? Can I have a second, please? Well, maybe you need to explain this, Michelle.
Well, I'm aware that you've asked for an opinion from your civil attorney regarding this position, and that opinion is that you are contractually obligated to fill that position. You are contractually obligated 1.5 FTEs for that position. That is Title 4D work. It is required under the statute, which is in the packet I gave you. I outlined all of the statutes and the legal languages that apply. And so while we're contractually obligated to do that work, we are also statutorily obligated to do the work. So even if we didn't have a contract, we still would have to do it. Under the statute, there are 3 ways that my office does not do it, and I outlined those 3 ways. One of which is to turn the position over to the front of the court with the consent of the chief judge. You do not have the consent of the chief judge for that action, nor do you have the consent of my office or the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services to make that change. So nobody for that particular option consents to that move. Furthermore, moving the position to front of the court would still require you to give them a person to do the work. So you aren't saving any money. The second option would be for your civil counsel to do that work. I've talked with Dave Stoker. His firm is not interested in doing that work. And again, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services in my office do not consent to that move. And then the other option would be for them to hire their own attorney, which they are not interested in doing. This position and Title 4D work is money that comes in to do child support and paternity. So when an individual, when there are children who are receiving state aid, it is in the state's interest to ensure that they're receiving money back. So we pursue the child support and paternity on behalf of the state. And we are the ones that put those cases into the system. We work with front of the court and family court on these cases. So the money that comes through there, when it is filled at 100% with one person doing strictly child support and paternity work, only 34% of that person's salary and fringes comes from the general fund. The remainder of that is reimbursed through the Title 4D contract and monies that come in. With the changes that we need to make, the person who would be in there could not be 100% because I need assistance handling caseload as well. But we can fill those FTE requirements under the contract by putting a person in there and having them do other work, because we also get a portion of my salary is attached to the Title 4D funding that gets reimbursed to you because I do administrative work. And then I also at times appear in court on those cases if somebody else isn't available. So those individuals that are assigned to work the child support and paternity, a portion of their salary is covered by the Title 4D monies that come in. So the person who would be taking this position, if it's a paralegal, they will be 100%, and 34% of their salary will come from the general fund. The rest of it will come from the Title 4D funding that comes through from the federal government passing through to the state to here. If it's an attorney that fills the position, then a little bit more of their salary will come from the general fund, but a significant portion will still be covered under the Title 4D monies. So again, I know that your civil attorney has told you that you're contractually obligated to fill the position, and I'm telling you the same thing. It needs to be filled. So if you don't, you're in breach of contract.
Through the courts being slower right now, there's no one else that could fill in for that in your office, you don't think, for the time being, so we could maybe wait to fill this, or something that you feel we have to fill now?
I don't need to fill it right now. Obviously, I'd like to start interviewing people because when we open back up, it's going to be crazy. I can already tell you that cases are stacking up in our office.
I believe that.
You know, because crime hasn't stopped. You know, we're all reviewing cases. During the week, I handle all of the ones that were arrested the night before, and I had one this morning before I came down. Yesterday was a little busier, but the cases where we aren't arresting somebody, those are still coming in for review, and we're reviewing them. Staff is still preparing them. They're just waiting for us to flood them into the system once it opens back up again. And so we're going to be running with our hair on fire in all of the courts once this opens back up. So yes, while things are slow now, we're managing, but we aren't going to manage once we open fully back up. So again, I'm not seeing that we'll fill the position with somebody probably until the middle to end of May, depending on what the governor does. Because
So you'd be willing to wait until
yes,
it's getting ready to go, but with enough time to train them also. probably,
correct.
get them up to
I'd
speed.
like to take advantage of the slower time to let somebody come in and train, because that is a system that they have to do training with the state before they can log into the system. And then they have to learn the system. And so we have to train them on that, because those require, the child support and paternity also requires us sometimes to take DNA samples and send those in. And clearly we aren't doing that right now. And we aren't having in-person meetings. So that has kind of slowed, but we do need to make sure that we pick it back up, because we are required to meet certain percentages of operation in there. Otherwise we get dinged and we have to do a corrective action plan.
And
with this.
34% of this salary comes from the general fund.
Right. It's a very small portion
Very
that,
small portion.
right.
And
So,
we are under contract to do that.
yes, you are.
Tracy, where are we at with the budget? Where do we stand? Fund
Um,
balance, negative number towards, the end of this fiscal year.
I understand that we are almost through the tax anticipation note, and with this COVID-19 issue with us not working and not bringing in some of the revenues, that we may end up having to take out another loan.
What's the fund balance at this point? Any idea?
No, I don't. I do believe that Jenny said that we were at a minus 600, and there was 150 left on the tax anticipation note that was going to be going toward that 600,000.
600
We were at a minus 600,000.
under the fund balance?
Well, at this point, fund balance is what it's going to be at the very end, after the budget has gotten to the end. So right now we're at a minus 600 with 150,000 of the tax anticipation note remaining, which would go toward that 600,000.
With none of the summer taxes being collected.
Correct.
So,
Well, our last, meeting, when the treasurer was here, didn't you say it was questionable how long we could meet payroll? Like
end of the month, she said.
End of April.
Unless we take out a loan?
Which is why, when I was talking during my administrator's report, that if the governor extends the executive order, the board really needs to take a look at doing furloughs or laying people off.
If I can interject just a second, you guys are talking two different things. The cash flow is different from the budget. And so we are having cash flow issues right now, which is common that we have this time of year, except for we were having budget issues prior to COVID-19 coming on board. We have increased our tax anticipation note amount that we borrow this year by 500,000, and the year before another 500,000. So we borrowed $2 million, and we are through that. By the end of April, we will be through that. However, the budget is a different story. The budget tells you where we would be at the end of the year throughout all of this. And so I do believe at your last board meeting, you did approve some budget adjustments that were needed to see where you're at, but you again need to keep adjusting those budgets on a weekly, even daily basis to constantly see where you're at. And I'm not seeing that being done. And If it was up to me, I would like you guys to do that more often. But right now, with the stuff that Pete had distributed, we can make some adjustments. We need to adjust our taxes, which is a good thing. We can increase it a bit. We won't be able to increase it that whole amount because obviously we'll have board of reviews in July and December. And we also will get the state tax adjustments that will be coming through as well. We will need to reduce the sheriff's inmate revenues that come in. And then there's a whole lot of other revenues that will need to be adjusted. I was on a webinar on Monday where the state was talking about the revenues that they send to us. And right now, the for sure is that the local units, meaning the cities, townships, and villages, will probably be losing some of their constitutional revenue sharing. At this time, with ours being in their budget, we're okay. However, the state is having a $2.6 or $2.8 billion deficit. So it's not guaranteed that we're going to get the state funding. So it's definitely stuff that should be tracked almost on a weekly or daily basis. That's it. That's all I have to say on that part, unless you guys have any questions.
Any questions for Jenny? Thank you, Jenny.
You're welcome.
Okay, do I have a second for that?
This is money we already budgeted.
Yes,
I'll second it.
thank you.
Okay.
Let's go.
Moved by David, seconded by Jeff to approve the hiring of an assistant prosecutor or a paralegal. Discussion?
I think we should wait on it and see if we can't review other alternatives or something that's out there. Giving our budget, even though it was a budgeted item, that doesn't mean we have the money to spend on it.
What if we contractually obligated ourselves to that? That's the only thing I'm looking at here, why we should vote.
I think we should look at maybe if there's other avenues, whether somebody in that office would be obligated to do it other than hire somebody specifically to do the job.
I don't have anybody
I
that
think we
can,
need to look into those avenues. I mean, we're worried about making payroll and now we're gonna hire somebody, two.
I agree.
It's madness.
We're in uncharted waters. We're not the only community that's going busted, and there's a lot of things we're contractually obligated to provide to the community that we're not going to be able to provide.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't be the only thing that we would be in hot water over.
can you afford a lawsuit if you don't fulfill the contract? I mean, can you really afford that?
We'd have to look at the contract and see if there's something that can be done other than hiring that person to fulfill that obligation. I would think we would have to look at our attorney to look at something like this.
He did.
He said that we're supposed to fill that position, but is the position mandatory, or can someone out of that office perform those duties?
And I'm telling you that everybody is already tied into things that they're doing. I need somebody to fill that. So you're contractually obligated to fill it with 1.5. I'm asking for 1 because I take the other half, and that's spread out between myself and another person who handles or assists in those things. And I outlined the legalities there for you in the statute. So even if we weren't contractually obligated, so you have a contract, but even if that went away, statutorily, we are still required to do that work, right?
Yep.
So
I say at this point, we get a second opinion.
would you like to hear the voicemail that your attorney left me? He gave you an opinion.
Leonard?
He has valid points, there's a lot going on here, people are gonna be losing their job here. you know, they're gonna be saying, well, hey, I lost my job, you're hiring people, you know, need to look at it. As Dale said, that right now, you know, things are changing too much.
Anyone else want to comment?
I know how I'm gonna vote.
We are gonna be having some budget discussions here right at the end of the meeting. So,
Call for the vote.
Copeland,
Yes.
Haskell,
Yeah.
Fitzpatrick,
No.
Strauss,
No.
Pittsburgh,
No.
Majeski,
No.
Reinhardt.
no. We'll be probably talking about this later.
I'm sure you will. Probably through attorneys. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see here. To approve, Mark, could you take the next one, please?
Motion to approve the 911 plan amendment with resolution number 20-07.
I'll second it.
Moved by Mark and seconded by David to approve the 9/11 plan. For discussion?
If I could, I just wanted to note that the resolution that was included includes a public hearing. And in the public hearing section, it had, I believe Dawn had put in a date. That date has to be at least 90 days out from today's meeting. So that does need to be modified on the resolution.
Okay. All right. Any more discussion about it?
Real quick, this resolution, this is the one that we had to postpone due to some wording a while back, is that correct?
That is correct, yes. The change has been made to section 2.5, which contradicted statute. So we modified that and basically we just have to do the same process over again. We have to set a new public hearing and then, which is at least 90 days out, and then we have to send out notice to all of the parties that are affected by it. So
Thank you.
chance to talk it over.
Anybody else have anything you would like to ask Marlena? Or roll call, please, Laurie.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Copeland,
Yes.
Haskell,
Yes.
Majeski,
Yes.
Pittsburgh,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Reinhardt.
Yes. Jeff, would you take number 4, please?
Mr. Chair, we do need to have a date in the resolution. So the date for that public hearing would have to be set.
Okay, thank you.
It would have to be after July 22nd.
It would, we would have to have the public hearing, or is that what you're saying?
Correct, yep. The resolution calls for us to set a public hearing inside the within the resolution, and it has to be following July 22nd. So last time we had agreed to do it as part of the Board of Commissioners meeting. So if we could set it at the following one after July 22nd.
Probably have to be in August.
August 19th.
August 19th work for you, Marlena?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's set the public hearing for August 19th.
And would that be at 9 a.m.
Yes.
or 10 a.m.?
Well,
Probably should be.
probably at, what, 10, you say? Okay, probably at 10 a.m.
Thank you.
Okay. Jeff, would you take 4, please?
Motion to
What?
send letter.
Wait, sorry, wait a minute now. We just approved it. Oh, no, we didn't. Sorry about that. There's another one there for 911.
Motion to approve resolution 20-8 authorizing the election proposal for Clare County E911 Central Dispatch to increase the monthly surcharge rate and certifying the ballot language.
Second, please.
I'll second it.
Okay, moved by Jeff, seconded by David to approve resolution 2008. Discussion?
Marlena, do you know, do you know our current surcharge is what, $1?
$1, correct.
And it would be going up to what?
$1.75 per month per device.
Per device, and this is just for mobile devices?
It is for any device that's capable of dialing 911. So someone can use some type of like a tablet to dial 911 because they have a service on it, then it could potentially be charged if it's provided by a phone company.
How much additional revenue will this bring in?
I did include some handouts in the packet. If we set it at $1.75, it would be approximately, based on the current amount we collect now, it would bring in an additional $209,713.
And what are the plans for that money?
The second handout that I attached in the packet, it has a 5-year projection plan. And it talks about all of the upcoming projects we have within the next 5 years, the staffing changes, and then there are some other items that we would like to replace that aren't necessarily dire right now, but they are things that we want to have to move forward, such as point-to-point address mapping. That's quite a project. Hoping to get a grant for that project in the next year, but there may be some like a cost match associated with that. And then if you look at the handout that's attached, you'll see a list of all of those items and the approximate cost for the ones that I have.
Now, I know we were discussing earlier that now this would be a max, an additional 75 cents. There isn't the potential for, if 911 wanted to move it up to a max of $3.
The only way we can increase it to $3 is by a voter approval. This would only be asking us to go up to $1.75. And then every year I have to submit a letter to the state 911 office advising what we're gonna set that rate at. So even if this ballot language would allow us to go up to $1.75 max. If say next year we decided we didn't quite need that much, we could dial it back and say we're only gonna collect $1.50 this year. But it sets the max at $1.75.
All right, I thought there was something I read to where you were going from between $1 and $3 with it at the discretion of 911 to move it up or down or whatever. Maybe that was something old or just proposed or something like that.
We had talked about that, so then we wouldn't have to go to the voters again if we just set it at the $3. But I didn't think that now was the time to try to take on that task. And we're really not looking to have a huge fund sitting there, but we want to be able to afford the projects that we need and have adequate staffing.
Right. I think with any proposal that's going to go on the ballot for increased taxes, I think you're going to have a tough time.
Yep, and I understand that.
Hopefully not the 911, but with all the other ones that we had discussed throughout this year, it's you know, given the what's going on right now with this virus and the economy and all that, it's going to be tough.
And I do feel there are worries out there that even the virus, people are going to start eliminating costs where they can. So the money we're receiving even right now may go down because the number of devices being used. If people are cutting down the number of devices they are using, that's going to affect the incoming revenue over the next year. And another thing I wanted to point out too is that our current surcharge doesn't expire until June of 2021. This would not go into effect until July of 2021 if it were to pass. Then it would take until November of 2021 before we would even start seeing the beginning money trickling in. So it would be 2022 before we even get a full year's worth of this funding. So I wanted to make sure that was understood as well.
Yep. Okay.
Ready?
Roll call, please.
Haskell,
Yes.
Copeland,
Yes.
Majewski,
Yes.
Pittsburgh,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yeah.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Reinhardt.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marlena. Okay, now number 4, some, whoops,
I was gonna ask if I could take the Eagle Scout one.
oh, yeah, fine.
Motion to send letters on behalf of the Board of Commissioners to recognize Mr. William Bell and Mr. Josh Magnus for their accomplishments in earning the rank of Eagle Scout and allow the chair to sign.
Second that.
Moved by David, seconded by Mark to send, to recognize letters for Mr. Bell and Mr. Magnus. Any more discussion?
I would say, one of these projects, Mr. Bell, there, he did a lot of cleanup on that cemetery adjacent to your property there.
Oh, okay. Anybody else? Roll call, please. Lori?
Copeland,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Majewski,
Yes.
Pittsburgh,
Yes.
Haskell,
Yeah.
Reinhardt.
Yes. Would you take 5, Samantha, please?
Motion to approve allowing the sheriff department bargaining units / union staff to receive a half-hour comp time for every hour worked during the COVID-19 stay-home order and or response period as of 3/19/20.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved by Samantha, seconded by Jeff to the letter of understanding for the sheriff's unit. Discussion?
Yeah, I have a question on that. I was under the understanding that the sheriff had the right to do this and it was already a done deal. The conversation that I had with the undersheriff was that it was already a done deal. And the undersheriff told me that John had the right, or the sheriff had the right to do this. So I'm not sure why.
Because it's a letter of understanding and it has to do with the union contracts, it has to be approved by the Board of Commissioners.
Okay, because the copy that I got had everybody's signature. and
Yes, it
all
did,
done.
but a letter
2
of
weeks
under,
ago.
yeah, a letter of understanding has to be approved by the board.
Now, that includes animal control's 2 people out there too, correct?
No, they're in a different unit.
So they have to ask for them to be part of this?
You would have, the board would have to approve for those 2 together as well.
Well, I would think for they're out there too, that they should get it along with the deputies.
What, we got a lot of people hurting right now. What's the justification for this?
You know, I think it was the state, along with their officers and the people out, they gave them a pretty big pay raise. And don't quote me, but I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $700 a week.
$750.
$750 a week that they got paid. Well, when state troopers are getting that money and other sheriff's departments are given raises, which I wish we could, but we just can't afford it. So they ask, being that they're going out there, they can't, we got all kinds of people that are maybe working from home, whether they are or not. That was the intent of the union. And I would have thought that the animal control would be just like them. So I'd like to include them.
I guess
somehow.
what I'm driving at here is there's a lot of people, I mean, we live in a farming community, there's a lot of farmers, they have to be out there and put themselves in harm's way. They can't take 2 weeks off and hide in their home. They have to go out and plant and do their things. It's not like cutting wood or fixing cars. I'll wait 2 weeks and then I'll go back to fixing cars. I'll wait 2 weeks, go back and cut wood. They can't sit in their homes. They're having to try to go out and do things, and they're relying on other people to keep doing their jobs so everybody can kind of move.
Social distance though?
Not necessarily. There's a lot of things they have to do where they have to interact with. People have to come to the farm, they have to deliver products, they have to feed their animals. I'm seeing a lot of this type of stuff, and I've had some discussions with some people even from the unemployment side of things. You've got people that were laid off just prior to COVID that aren't getting the $600, and now people that are laid off because of COVID, they're getting $600 plus their unemployment. You've also got people that are getting offered, higher ranking people in facilities are being offered the option of voluntary layoff. And knowing that they're gonna come back in a month, that company's probably still gonna be open, and the person that just got hired a month ago, they know when that person comes back, they're already told they're gonna lose their job. The shuffling that's going on and the amount of money that's moving here, we gotta get a handle on this, just in our own budget. I'm just saying right now, I can't approve anything. Unfortunately, if you're a doctor or a nurse or a police officer, you signed on for putting yourself in harm's way, and I commend them for doing that, but we've got to draw the line on all this money that's just going into.
So let me ask you this then, and I love farmers, so don't take it this way, but we've been in houses where there's stuff coming out of people we're doing CPR on that could have this COVID. Our Michigan State Police allies are getting $1,500 more a month, yet not responding like what we are in this county. And we are put in this, we're bringing it home to our families. Every department around me is giving some incentives to their employees. It's no different than, in a sense that somebody going into combat gets combat pay. I get that. I get it, Mark, that, I did sign up to do this. So did all my men and women here. By God, every day we walk in here, we don't know if we're going to take it home to our family because we don't have the testing. It's not available to us. If it is, we got to drive to Detroit. This extra stress on what we're doing already, it's maxing our people out. If you don't want to give it to them, don't give it to them, but you got to live with that.
And Mark, if I may add, all respect, it's totally different talking our people and others. This is apples and oranges. We've had 9 exposures. We've had people have to be off. They are risking their life above and beyond at this point. It would be morally wrong not to take care of them, especially the way we did it. These municipalities that are paying extra money, we're not doing that. Dale, along the lines of what you're talking about, yes, the sheriff has discretion, but we did an LOA because of the union contract out of respect to you and the union. They all signed it saying, look, we will waive the pay option. They're only asking for comp time. How do we not do this for these people that are going beyond right now, risking their lives? That would be wrong.
I'm not saying that not to do it. I'm just saying that I thought it was a done deal 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, but along the lines of what Mark's saying, I understand there's different views on these things. Our people asking for the bare minimum to not take care of them, that is not leadership.
Anybody else want to comment on that? Okay, roll call, please.
Pittsburgh,
Yes.
Pascal,
Yes.
Majewski,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Hoefling,
Yes.
Kleinhardt.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. People would like to have a motion for the 2 animal control people that go out?
I'll make that motion.
I will second.
Okay, moved by Jeff, seconded by David to include Rudy and Bob in the same program. More discussion?
I did talk to Bob and he explained that they're not cut back, they're actually busier now. And going on a lot of calls, people's houses and everything, so I feel they deserve that also.
Plus they back up John's people.
Yeah, okay, roll call on that, please.
1 second, please.
Okay. I know I sprung that on you, Lori.
Casco,
Yes.
Hoefling,
Yes.
Majewski.
Yes.
Pittsford,
Yes.
Strauss.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Kleinhardt.
Yes. Okay. Who did I ask?
Dale's turn.
Dale?
Thanks. To reappoint Mike Tobin to Region 7, Area Agency Governing Board with a term to expire March 1st, 2023.
I'll support that.
Moved by Dale, seconded by Leonard to reappoint Mike Tobin to Region 7 Agency. Any more discussion? Lori?
Majewski,
Yes.
Strauss.
Yes.
Hoefling.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Pittsford,
Yes.
Casco,
Yeah.
Kleinhardt.
Yes. Okay, Leonard?
Okay, resolution 20-10, motion to approve resolution 20-10, the cost of acquiring an existing building and constructing, equipping and furnishing comprehensive renovations to said building to house facilities for the county senior services council on aging. The project intent is to issue limited tax general obligation bonds in one or more series in the aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $545,000. Finance all or part of the cost of the project. The county hereby declares that it reasonably expects to seek reimbursement for its advances to the project as anticipated by this resolution.
Could I have a second, please? Okay. Moved by Leonard, seconded by Mark to approve resolution 2010 for the senior services. More discussion?
There shouldn't be any obligation on the county if ours our money, right?
Well, is it a bond from our taxes? Is that what that states? I don't know. I thought it was gonna be a USDA loan or something
Yeah,
originally.
This is strictly through Council on Aging.
Yeah.
For them, I mean, they're totally separate. There wouldn't be any monies for us. It would be no different than
Mine just
us having to.
limited tax general obligation bond. Does that mean that we're financing that through bonds from our taxes?
I don't think so, but we may have to back it.
She's here. Do you want her to have her come up here?
If possible. I mean, she might have to stand in the hall.
If you don't mind if I step in, I was under the understanding it was also supposed to be a loan, but they are issuing bonds, which will be in the county name. And I'm not sure how the bidding process worked because I didn't realize it was going to be a bond issue. I do know that Senior Services Fund is going to be paying for that. And I have not seen the amortization schedule, but I'm assuming the amount is going to be lower than what the amount of money was that she's paying at the Clare Castle right now. That was supposed to be how it was set up, but I haven't seen the actual paperwork to know if that happened or not.
Yeah, I think this is to replace the rent that we have on.
It's gonna save us a bunch of money. It really is. Just
So, the only thing, it will go probably on our debt load.
But she's
But
already
it
got
will
the money.
save-
She's already got the money to pay it. So.
It will save a substantial amount of money.
She's on her way up.
Okay, thanks.
Appreciate it, Sherry.
Did you get the thing I sent yesterday on the city? To send it to your phone, but the state was looking at between 1 and 3 billion. Mistake? Well, see, that's not including on farm. Okay, about half the states, they don't, they maxed out what they set aside. And Michigan's got to be right there. So they're gonna have to allocate more money like they're having fund. Right. Or they're rating the A fund. Well, get that. Because. Okay, Lori, we explain the bond issue there, please, about the senior center.
Okay, we have to go out for bonds for this loan. So one of the requirements is it has to be published in general circulation. And there's a 45-day waiting period on that. It's the same thing that we did with the other senior center over here. And then the USDA will issue the loan once the bonds are done. And this is the same bond counsel we use for anything at the county. And all the funds to pay the bond counsel come out of the USDA dollars as well.
There will be, that will be replacing the Clare Castle.
Yes.
site.
Yes.
There will be a substantial savings there.
Yeah, about $40,000 a year.
40 a year. Are we at the last year of that?
We're done
release?
June 30th.
Okay. So this is to purchase the building and renovate it, or we already purchased it?
No, this is purchase and renovate.
Okay. Is it still the one there on Wilcox?
Yeah, it's the one next door to the first one we were looking at. We were looking at the Oddfellows. But the cost to renovate that was going to be too much. So the one next door is for sale, and it's the former Murphy's Beauty College, and it used to be a funeral home. And the renovation is not going to be as much. So we'll be able to be within our budget to purchase and renovate. And it's already got the parking. So it's set up. Did any of you go to look? You looked at it, didn't you?
Yeah,
Okay.
Godfell was really good when I looked at it.
Oh, okay. It must have been Mike Tobin that looked at the other building. He's on the board at Region 7 for our area. So,
You know that Jack and I are in a geyser mode here. Is it gonna be ready for us to take advantage?
sure, yeah.
We can go for it, I think, Jack.
Yeah, it's gonna help us, huh?
So you brought up an interesting point, and obviously with money the way it is, what position does that put the county in? I mean, albeit extremely remote, something goes south and we're holding the bag. How does this debt load or this bond affect us if we get into deeper financial trouble and then somebody says, it'd be no different than me, needing financial help and say, well, you got 2 car loans and a house loan and you're in too deep, your debt load's too heavy. That'd be the only thing I'm looking at is, and it was already mentioned here, is the debt load at the county.
Right.
Unfortunately, because of the situation we're in, trying to balance I understand there's really good cost savings. I mean, it makes perfect logical sense to do what you're doing. I just think we gotta be really careful here on our debt load thing. As long as we can make this work.
Well, that was the first thing that I talked with Jenny about. I mean, this wasn't happening at the time, but that was the very first thing that I talked with Jenny about when it came to purchasing something is the debt load. And so, you know, we had gone over that. That was going to be okay. I mean, I haven't talked with her recently about it, but she is aware because she and I have gone back and forth with the bond counsel. You know, she knows this is going on. So I think if there was a concern, if she had a concern with the debt load, she would have mentioned it, but
How long before the bonds are done and the loan kicks in?
it's for 15 years. So,
Bonds basically extend the length of the loan, correct?
Correct.
They're backing up the loan.
correct.
Unbelievable.
Okay. Lori?
Strauss,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Pitchford,
Yes.
Haskell,
Yes.
Majewski,
Yes.
Hoagland,
Yes.
Kleinhardt.
Yes. Okay, Lori?
Okay, is that
Thank
it?
you.
Okay, thank you.
Just didn't quite understand the whole
Yeah.
bond thing to the loan, and I just wanted some explanation.
Okay, sure, no problem. Nice seeing you
The
too.
dust mask battle, are you getting any?
We are actually, like
Good.
Jerry Becker has been wonderful getting,
He has, he's done, got a lot of stuff, he's done a great job.
yeah, he has gotten us the N95s, a few times. John Wilson did help with that too. Then we just got another shipment of masks and we're able to refill all of our sanitizers for our in-home workers. So it's been going really fine. Everybody's really adjusted and doing good with it, so.
That's good to hear.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Dale, would you take number 3, please?
Well,
Did we
Samantha,
did we
we skipped Samantha.
Yes. Did I skip these?
No, Leonard's turn, I think.
No, Leonard,
Oh, did you?
didn't Leonard do the last one?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, I handle number 2 quick.
Yeah. Take number 3.
Let me take it.
Yeah.
To approve the agreement between Dickinson Wright PLLC as bond counsel for Clare County.
I'll support that.
Moved by Dale, seconded by Leonard to approve the bond counsel of Dickinson Wright. Discussion? Lori?
Majewski,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Pitchford,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Hoagland,
Yes.
Haskell,
Yes.
Kleinhardt.
Yes. David, would you take number 1 of physical resources, please?
Of course. Motion to approve resolution 2009 that the following proposal be submitted to the qualified voters of the County of Clare on Tuesday, August 4th, 2020, in the state primary election, Clare County millage for Michigan State University Extension Services and 4-H.
I'll support that.
Moved by David, seconded by Leonard to approve resolution 2009 for the MSU extension. Discussion?
Sherry is looking on there here.
Sherry, tell me how much you're going for.
Excuse me, the amount on this was for 0.13 of a mil. But I'll be honest, after Pete's presentation with the taxable value going up, I'm wondering if that can be reduced to 0.12 or maybe even 0.11, because I based this amount that I need to sustain our operations for 6 years based on, a lower taxable value.
How much revenue will that bring in?
I guess it depends on which one of the taxable values you look at. And then the other question I would have is if it looks like that taxable value is going to, it's so hard to say right now because of the situation we're in, and whether or not that's going to sustain itself or if it's going to decline again. So I was looking at what I needed over the next 6 years, and I was looking for somewhere between 135,000 a year to 140, low 140s a year. And then that would provide us with a part-time secretary, all the services of MSU Extension, a full-time 4-H coordinator.
How much do you get from Clare County right now?
This year, we dropped down a large amount, and it's 59 something.
It's 59,000. It's like 50,000?
59, I believe.
So really, the millage would bring you in almost double what you're making.
Well, remember right now I have, if I may, yeah, right now I'm bringing in extra money from a partnership with Mid-Michigan College to keep our 4-H coordinator full-time. And so now she's having to do some work for Mid-Michigan College, and I'd rather have a full-time 4-H coordinator devoted to full-time 4-H work in Clare County. And then the other piece of it is in terms of clerical support, we've been using somebody what we call temp on call. And so it's a temporary position. It's not a regular position, and there's less cost to it. In all fairness to the individual in that position, you know, I'd like to put them on the MSU payroll on a regular basis. And we're looking to do that. I think 3 days a week is what I figured in.
Any other questions for?
Does that answer your question, Dale?
Yeah.
So we need a little bit more money than what we've currently been receiving from the county. And I have to budget out for the full 6 years that the millage would cover.
Right. Taxpayers are gonna be pretty strapped this year.
I know it's a tough year. And so that's why after I heard Pete's presentation, I thought maybe I can drop this a little bit and we could recompute what that amount is. When we did look at this originally and we computed the numbers, it came out for the average homeowner, if I remember right, somewhere in the area of $5 a year. I remember us saying, oh, that's about 2 cups of coffee a year. I mean, it wasn't a lot.
You know, I'm a big backer of 4-H and the youth there, but I was wondering if this millage just is defeated, then where are they at with us in Clare County? Do we have to make a decision then, or?
Well, you know, we're gonna have to approve a budget before, you're putting that on the August election?
Yeah.
You're gonna be on the August, well, I guess we would face that when, you know, if it.
So it was
goes down.
defeated, I mean, it's not out the door, we still have
Well,
opportunity.
we could figure in the next budget, which has to be done by the 30th, be part of the discussion. Does that answer your question? Okay, Lori?
Hoefling,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Pitchford. Yes. Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Majeski,
No.
Haskell,
Yeah.
Kleinhardt.
Yes.
What was it, well, I didn't hear all the votes, what was total figure there?
6-1.
6-1.
Okay, Mark, would you take number 3, please?
To approve the janitorial contract between AWOL and Clare County.
Can we add to that for 3 years to begin May 1st?
That is when their contract expires.
No, it just has continued.
Well,
It just extends.
May 1st, 2020.
Yes, please.
So what's the date that it normally extends to? I mean, there must be a sunset date every year, or just?
Yeah, that's
It's
already
expired
passed.
now. It's expired now. Okay.
Well, I'm just wondering if this is something that we should have went over, the buildings and grounds, went over the contract. I know with the COVID thing, it's kind of, but
Yeah, we had a meeting scheduled to go over the RFPs, and the only one that showed was Lori Phelps. So she went through all of them and reviewed them, and
what was the year on?
a 3-year contract to begin May 1st.
Were they a little bigger?
2020. Huh?
Were they a little bigger?
Yes. The other, there was two bids, and the other one came in at 20,000 more per year.
And their contract now is how much different from what we were paying?
Roughly 10,000.
So the new contract.
It'll
will
be
up 10,000
somewhat
more a
less
year.
than that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, did I have a second for that?
No, you don't.
Okay, I need a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, moved by Mark, seconded by David to approve the contract for AWOL. Any more discussion, questions?
We had a chat come in over the public session from Michelle. Would you like me to read it?
Go ahead.
Michelle had commented, so going to vote to spend more money on a janitorial contract, it is more now than what they are going to pay for this service.
Roll call, please.
Good.
Go ahead.
Just go ahead. So what was the dollars that they're on the previous contract, and what's the new contract, what's the dollars there for AWOL?
Just a second.
You alluded maybe $10,000 more.
It's more, it's closer to 5. We were paying 79, and it would
79,000.
79,000. The first year would move up to 83.2.
How long had it been since they upped it?
They have not,
How many years has that been?
since 2013, so 7 years.
So we have to expect some type of increase in 7 years.
When they were the low bid.
Yes, the other ones were over 100,000. The other one was over 100,000.
So they worked for 7 years with no increase.
Correct.
This is an interesting situation where obviously our due diligence don't look at these contracts and look at them. But in this situation, looking at it probably cost us money. Because I don't blame them for increasing their rate. They hadn't done it in 5 years. You could say, well, maybe yearly we should have, forced a contract. They were willing to keep going without an increase, and that's the way we did it. Some situations, at the end of the day, you walk out and say, okay, we did our due diligence and the price came down, or we held them to the price. In this situation, unfortunately, it's costing us more money than maybe we would have. But at the end of the day, we can say we did our job, and we put it out for bid, and it is what it is. So, hoping to see a decrease, but unfortunately, it was an increase. I just want to be clear, because we had projected to the community that we were going to look at a lot of these contracts and make sure that we're getting the most bang for our buck, and we needed to do it, and we did it. It just, unfortunately, this is one of those situations where looking at it probably cost us a little bit of money instead of save us some, but it needed to be done at the end of the day. It's just the way it works.
Good point.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Coughlin,
Yes.
Haskell,
Yeah.
Strauss,
Yes.
Pitchford,
Yes.
Majeski,
Yes.
Kleinhardt.
Yes.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
Are the the janitorial services, are they employed by the county or are they a separate firm? Has it ever been looked into to get, you know, to hire that out to a firm? Do you know what I'm saying? I can't think of the word.
Yes, it is contracted out. It is a contracted position. They are not employed by the county.
Thank you. And when was the last time that was put out for bids?
We did it in 2013 and then just recently.
And did you get any feedback for it?
We got 2 bids.
Okay. And so the people that are currently working, are they the same ones that have been working there? You didn't get a new contract is what I'm saying.
Correct.
Okay. And you only got 2 bids in?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Samantha, would you take number 1 on finance?
We have a motion to approve the statutory finance committee meeting minutes of March 30th, 2020 in the amount of $123,846.78, and April 15th, 2020 in the amount of $171,999.83.
Moved by Samantha, seconded by Dale to approve the statutory finance committee minutes of March 30th. Any more discussion? Lori?
Pittsford,
Yes.
Majewski,
Yes.
Haskell,
Yes.
Hoagland,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Kleinhardt.
Yes. Jeff, would you take 2, please?
To approve the expenditures for the month of March 2020 in the amount of $2,593,202.95, with general fund expenditures totaling $873,162.90.
Second, please.
I'll second it.
Moved by Jeff, seconded by David to approve the expenditures for the month of March 2020. Discussion? All in favor? Whoops.
Haskell,
Yes.
Hoagland,
Yeah.
Strauss,
Yes.
Pittsford,
Yes.
Majewski,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Kleinhardt.
Yes. Oh, let's see here. Leonard, would you take number 3?
Number 3,
Yes.
motion to approve budget adjustment 20-56 and 20-58 in the amount of $3,546.12 and $26,000 to be distributed.
Second, please.
I'll second it.
Moved by Leonard, seconded by Jeff to approve budget adjustments 2056 and 2058. Discussion? What are those for, Tracy?
I'm looking.
They're just for the Gypsy Moth Fund and the Claire Gladwin Recovery Court Fund.
Okay.
So those would be the funds, 2 funds.
Okay. Anybody else wanna ask anything about it? Okay, Lori?
Strauss,
Yes.
Haskell,
Yes.
Pittsford,
Yes.
Hoagland,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Majewski,
Yes.
Kleinhardt.
Yes. Okay, Lori, the remodification.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Did you say something? Got a heckler out there.
I'm sorry.
Neither do I.
Okay, this is a report from Paul Lapham, our county surveyor regarding the remonumentation. He couldn't be here, so he asked me to read his update. Our 2019 remonumentation agreement with the state of Michigan has been completed, and we have received final payment. We have submitted the 2020 grant application, which has been approved, and we have received the initial 40% startup payment of $18,077.20. The state legislature has mandated that all counties submit a revised county plan that identifies each corner in the county that has been remonumented, and each remaining corner to be remonumented, including meander corners of the lakes and streams, as well as selected interior centers of the sections. We have included all interior centers that appear to be surveyed property controlling corners due to the road construction. Our final inventory concludes that we have remonumented 1,793 corners and have 623 corners to be completed. Please note that the number of corners left to be completed includes all meander corners of lakes and the Muskegon River, as well as standard section corners. The revised plan also addresses perpetual monumentation maintenance plan, peer review group, and geodetic coordinates. The state has issued a tentative approval subject to the County Board of Commissioners approval. After you have approved the plan, we will send it to the state for acceptance. We are also requesting that you approve the peer review group and then list the names that are in the motion.
I'll support that.
I'll second.
Well, we're gonna need the
Well,
motion.
we did make the motion, yeah.
Okay. I was moving along there a little speedy.
You wanna make that motion then, Leonard?
Number four there.
Okay, I can do that. To approve the agreement extending the 1993 remonumentation plan agreement between Clare County and Lappin Associates.
Still want a second, Dale? Okay, moved by Leonard, seconded by Dale to approve the agreement on remodification to Lappin's Associates. Discussion?
He's a good man, does a good job.
Okay. Lori?
Strauss?
Yes.
Majeski?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Pittsford?
Yes.
Haskell?
Yes.
Hopefling?
Yes.
Kleinhardt?
Yes. Okay, number 5, Dale.
To approve the peer review group, Larry Kavanaugh, PS, Jerry Jones, PS, and WFB Waddell, PS.
Second, please.
I'll second.
Moved by Dale, seconded by Jeff to approve the peer review group. Discussion?
Majeski?
Yep.
Haskell?
Yes.
Hopefling?
Yeah.
Strauss?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Pittsford?
Yes.
Kleinhardt?
Yes. Take number 6, please, Samantha.
Motion to approve the 2020 revised county remonumentation plan.
I'll support it.
Moved by Samantha, seconded by Leonard to approve the 2020 revised county remodification plan. Okay. Any more comments, questions? Lori?
Pittsford?
Yes.
Strauss?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Haskell?
Yes.
Hopefling?
Yes.
Majeski?
Yep.
Kleinhardt?
Yes. Okay, Jeff, would you take the last motion?
Motion to transfer the 7 unsold parcels to the land bank with board chair to sign.
I'll support that. I'll go ahead, Jim.
I'll second.
Moved by Jeff, supported or seconded by Dale to transfer the unsold parcels to the land bank. Discussion? Lori?
Haskell?
Yes.
Majeski?
Yes.
Strauss?
Yes.
Pittsford?
Yes.
Hopefling?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Kleinhardt?
Yes. Okay, clerk's report, please, Lori.
Okay, We got through our deadline for the filing for office for partisan. If you have a, if you're affiliated with a party, that deadline was yesterday at 4. And did I send you a report of everybody who filed? Okay,
Yeah, question.
yes.
Did you send one out on the road commission? I didn't see that.
That's what I was asking. I don't know if I sent you the whole thing. or
I didn't
just-
get the whole thing.
Would you like to hear everything?
Yeah.
Okay, prosecuting attorney Michelle Ambrositis, Republican. Sheriff John Wilson, Republican. Clerk Register Lori Martin, Republican. Treasurer Jenny Beamer Fritzinger, Republican. Road Commissioner 2-year term, Terry Acton, Republican. Max Shunk, Republican. Road Commissioner 4-year term, Colt Davis, Republican. Bill Simpson, Republican. Road Commissioner 6-year term, Stephen Graves, Republican. Merle Harmon, Republican. Christopher Hofling, Republican. David Coker, Republican. Drain Commissioner, Michael Henry, Republican. Carl Parks, Republican. Charles Pardue, Republican. County Commissioner District 1, Dale Majeski, Democrat. County Commissioner District 2, Samantha Pitchford, Republican. County Commissioner District 3, Thomas Dunn, Republican. Rick Fankin, Republican. Carolyn Kinberg, Republican. County Commissioner District 4, Thomas Dewey, Republican. Stephanie Brown, Republican. County Commissioner District 5, Sandra Bristol, Democrat. County Commissioner District 6, Bronwyn Asplund, Republican. David Hofling, Republican. Kenneth Rauch, Republican. William Shue, Republican. County Commissioner District 7, Jeff Haskell, Republican. Those are all the county. We did not have anyone apply for the surveyor. County surveyor. I do have someone that plans to apply, but couldn't make the deadline.
Will that peer group appoint them then?
No, they're just, he's going to run as, my understanding is he's gonna run as, no party affiliation.
Oh, okay.
And be on the November ballot, is my understanding.
So independents and no party can still, or?
Independent and no party is the same thing, and they will, no party affiliation, they have until, I believe, July 16th to file.
Okay.
It's in July, and then even a later deadline for write-ins. So there's still a possibility of more candidates. But these are just the party affiliation candidates that the deadline was yesterday.
Could I ask you a question, just
Yeah.
personal question?
Sure.
On, if people are going to run as a write-in or no party affiliation, just on your own knowledge of the voting thing there, which one stands a better chance if a person would choose one of those?
Boy, I would,
Just your opinion.
I guess my opinion, it would probably be, you'd have less of the chances of write-in, I would think, because your name isn't appearing on the ballot.
Less of a chance.
Yeah. Yeah, because people have to physically write your name in there.
So if I wanted to run for prosecutor, I might want to run as an independent,
You could, if you qualified to run.
just tossing that out there. Or any other office.
I think you really do that.
No, well. They're gonna miss you, Leonard. All right. Lori? Yeah, more?
That's probably it for now. Thank you.
Good report.
Thank you.
Mighty good report.
Thank you.
Jenny?
Good morning. My office has been working full-time since the COVID-19 stuff has taken over. So we've been here trying to keep the county solvent by receiving and keeping the finances rolling. We did finish settlement just during the first week, and we're getting ready to pay out their money. It is their millage money, so they're all owed it, and it came in just under 4.4 million, which is definitely an increase from prior years. With that, we sent out 6,300 delinquent tax notices, and we've been getting quite a big turnout with in the mail and online payments with people paying their taxes. We did send over electronically 1,035 forfeiture certificates to the Register of Deeds for the 2018 taxes. And I'm sure, I think I sent out emails to you all letting you know that the governor, through Executive Order 2020-14, allowed an extension of the redemption period for the 2017 taxes, 2017 and prior years taxes. They're currently extended to May 29th or 30 days after the termination of the executive order, whichever comes later. We do have people still paying. We had some that still wanted to pay their 2017 taxes in danger of foreclosure and all their other taxes. And we have some that were grateful for the extension that we've seen. But we're still getting tons of mail. We still have the drive-through service. If they call our phone number, we meet them in between the sheriff department and the county building. There's some that just really need to make their payments to feel good and have the receipt in their hand. So we do have protocol set up, so we're all safe when we're doing that. And that's it I have for my office for now, unless you have any other questions.
Jenny, you've been following the COVID where the federal government is talking about reimbursing us some, or the state's talking about reimbursing us some. What do you think the likelihood of that happening?
Not really sure. I know, I don't know if you guys have been getting the MAC emails. I know Tracy's been forwarding them to you. And the first batch of monies that went out went to the state and or the larger units and not the smaller ones. So the email Tracy has been sending to you all has been for any of us to tell Congress we want the payment sent directly to us versus the state so that we do get some reimbursement. Right now, where the CARES Act reimbursement is sitting, it's for the 5 largest entities, which are Oakland County, Wayne County, Kent County, Macomb. They're getting the payments, but we're hoping that we can push Congress into sending some our way. I know we're tracking our expenses, and I'm hoping that somebody will be filling out some of those reports and sending them on to the state in the event that the state will reimburse us. I was on the webinar on Monday with Treasury and concerning the state revenue payments that they make to all of us local units. And, you know, for certain, the townships, cities, and villages, constitutional revenue sharing is going to probably be cut by 50% come the June and August payments. The state or the county one, we're in their budget. So they said right now the payments are going to continue as normal. However, with the state having their deficit, I'm assuming some of that is going to get cut too. So there's no certainty. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed that they help us out with something.
Okay, there's really no certainty because we don't know how long this is going, whether it'll be extended and what happens when it's lifted. Are people going to come back to normal, or are they going to be slow to respond? Yesterday I sent you that, Jenny, the synopsis there from I think it was the Detroit News that said the state is looking at a pretty substantial deficit between $1 and $3 billion, and they said the potential to grow is up there too. They've got a $1.1 billion rainy day fund, but if they use any of that, they're going to lower their bond rating. So,
yeah, but I did see that. I appreciate you sending that.
Well, it wasn't really good news, but it is what it is. Thank you, Jenny.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm going to defer my report to the state of the county budget. Samantha?
I don't have anything.
Dale? Leonard?
Well, I've attended no meetings, of course. And, you know, some Johnson called, hey, don't tell me I don't want you. Can't blame him for that. I gotta say, I was shocked and I was deeply disturbed when I found out that Mr. Mark Fitzpatrick had his name on the ballot. I'm going, you know, this is my last term. my plans are, if there's no Democrat running against, the people who are running for my position, that I'm maybe thinking strongly of, quitting after the August primary. I hope the board would appoint me to the primary, that's my thinking. But going into retirement, I would feel a whole lot better if Mr. Fitzpatrick was a commissioner here in Clare County. Rest easily. I know he's a hard-working commissioner, Mark. He works hard, he studies these things out. When he speaks, I mean, not everybody agrees with him. I mean, he can be controversial, which is good, I just hope, something can be done, he can continue to run. He's an asset to this county. I was deeply hurt by that, Mark. I called my nephew Bill, he was just shocked also.
All I can say is I forgot all about it with everything going on. You just forget about it. So, if I run, which I plan on, probably put it on as an independent, it's probably the best way to go. So.
I think we've made some good moves here today. I'm proud of the board, proud to be part of it. It's not been as much fun, as it used to be for me as a commissioner. Excited about getting off, but my fellow men and women here, I got faith to carry on well. Yes,
Okay,
Hey, Doug, again.
David?
Like Leonard said, it's hard to be in meetings. The townships have asked me to just send a report instead of being there physically, so I've been keeping in touch with them. Other than that, side note, I actually graduated from Elma College officially this week, so. And then my
Good for
bachelor's.
you, David.
Congratulations. Other than that, that's it.
What's your degree in?
It's Bachelor's of Art in Political Science.
Good.
Can I ask you a question? What's your long-range plans? I know being a commissioner is kind of a part-time gig. I mean, what's your, just a personal, just that, you don't have to answer me, but what's your aspirations here as a, you got bigger things in mind?
What do you want to be?
Yeah. You gotta be more than a Clare County commissioner. That's not gonna feed your family.
Well, yeah, eventually, when I get old enough, I do plan on trying to run for president.
No kidding. You're gonna start like, you're a county commissioner now, you're gonna go House Representative, work your way up that way, or?
Possibly.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, congratulations on getting your degree.
Thank you.
How many of us besides Dale and Samantha have degrees, Jeff?
No.
Not even from reform school or anything?
GED.
Okay,
Hey, Mr. Bass, I forgot one thing I wanted to add there.
yeah.
I was thinking, that girl, her name Becker, she's come in and talked to us about Oak Wilt and other things,
Yeah.
Just thinking, it would be good if we had her come to a meeting. Cause she's in with trees and everything, knows that thing, I think probably better than anybody in here. She could probably tell us where that tree is in Clare County if the money grows down. Just thinking, it may be a good thing.
Yeah. Okay. Mark?
Same thing, not going to any meetings, nobody wants you to show up, which is fine, I guess. Getting a lot of things done, but, living in a rural community, yeah, we somewhat have the social distancing thing, but I will say I've got some, most all my neighbors and a lot of people are farmers, the farming area, and this goes along with the discussion earlier with the proposal for the sheriff's department. I certainly commend those guys for what they do. They put themselves in harm's way. I wish we could all pay them all more. But the dirty part of the job being a commissioner is listening to your constituents and their concerns. And if you look at the numbers side of it, I've got a lot of farmers that are saying, all this money that we're spending with this COVID thing, they know that that's going to fall on the taxpayers. We keep saying, well, the state reimburses to the federal. That's our money. We're going to have to pay it back. And so they are concerned, their concerns and what they want me to bring up, which, trying to bring up is that everybody that's getting this stimulus money, whether it be laid off people or, first responder, they know that money's got to get paid back by somebody. And unfortunately, it's probably going to be them as well as every other taxpayer. And these are people that are just out there every day doing their job like they normally would, and they're not getting any stimulus money, but they know they're gonna have to pay it back. So, you know, that's the concern with some of the folks that have reached out to me, is that, you know, we're sitting in a bad situation in the county, but we know, you just mentioned, the state spent a pile of money, or losing money that they don't have, and the federal government spending money they don't have, and eventually it's gotta come from us. So, it's always hard to disconnect the dollars and the budgets from the faces and the people and what they're dealing with on a daily basis. But, you know, you talk to people that are, like I kind of brushed it on, was that were laid off a couple months ago. They're not getting the $600 because they weren't laid off because of COVID. But yet they can't go out and look for a job because they have to stay at home. While other people are allowed to volunteer for a layoff because they can afford it, plus they know they're volunteering because they're gonna get the $600 plus the 3 something, while the young person just starting at that facility, you know, not that they wanna be laid off, but it's weird how the dynamics and the money is coming out. The other thing you hear, you know, they keep saying, well, people need to be made whole, people, you know, through no fault of their own. Well, I can tell you, in my family, and I know Leonard went through it, your wife had cancer. My wife's got cancer. There's people that die in car accidents. There's people that die in a lot of things. They never get reimbursed for all that. Now, for some reason, there's a lot of people out there that seem to think that because of COVID, they need to be fully reimbursed through no fault of their own. They've lost everything. Well, guess what? Just be mindful that there are a lot of people in our society that have lost a lot. They'll never get paid back for it. COVID's just another one of those things. And because COVID's so big, it's on everybody's mind and everybody chimes in, and but there are people every day that deal with life-changing experiences that will never get reimbursed for that. So whether it be, you know, first responders that lose their lives, or get military people, you know, go into harm's way, it's hard for them. They'll never get everything back that they sacrificed. And people that, like I say, through no fault of their own, were in accidents or end up with diseases and different things, they're never going to get paid in whole. So just a reminder to those people that seem to think that because through no fault of their own, the COVID thing, they need to get every dollar back and it should not cost them a dime. There are people in this community that lose everything on a regular basis, and always have and always will, and they will not get repaid for that. But just because COVID's here, some people seem to think they should get paid back. And if they get paid back, that'll be from you and I out of our taxes paid back. Even the taxes from the people that had already lost everything. So.
Mr. Chairman, the American farmer is really going to be hurt in this situation here. You know, like a dairy farmer, you know, he sold his milk by 100 pounds. It's heading down to $10 for 100 pounds of milk. I bought milk at Meijer the other day for $1.39 a gallon. So they're dumping milk in Wisconsin and other states. And then they're telling the farmer, well, call your herd, cut back on your herd. Well, you know, Smithfield, there's Packers plants in Pennsylvania, Packers in Ohio, Packers in Colorado. They shut down. So you got a cow that they don't want you to milk anymore, and you want you to sell her. Well, the beef prices are going down. The American dairyman is in tremendous trouble in our country. I mean, tremendous. It was bad when it was 15. Now it's going to 10. You know, like Mark said, I mean, the American
we expect to go to the store and get food, and these people are trying to grow food. And you know, the shutdowns and the things, the farmers I deal with, it's tough for them. And then I'm hearing through the grapevine from you start talking to Farm Bureau people, the farmers that have the labor intensive type crops, they can't get the migrant workers. The legal migrant workers can't come in. There's entire farms that are going to be totally shut down. Eventually that going to affect our food supply. It's going to. And some of the farmers have had to slow down in some of the things they do because of disruptions and stuff. They're just trying to grow food. And again, none of these guys are getting any stimulus money. They're just trying to keep their farm afloat. And they can't just, like I said, it's not like a mechanic. You just go home for 2 weeks and then go back and start fixing cars. You can't do that when you're a farmer. You have animals, you have to feed them. You're a crop farmer, you have to be there on a regular basis doing things. You miss your window of opportunity, you're shut down, and whatever you are going to produce doesn't come back.
And, packing plants for hogs are shutting down, just for you people here or city people, I mean, you get a pickup to 230, 250 pounds, that baby's ready to go, You just can't keep feeding it, if there's no place to take it.
Yeah, oil went to negative. They would pay you to take oil. My son did some research. They would literally pay people, if you had a facility big enough to take oil, they just need some place to go with it. The whole pipeline just getting backed up. If you had the ability to set on 1 million gallons of, you could buy it for pennies on the dollar, and maybe 2 or 3 years from now, you'd be a multi-billionaire. But there's just no place to go with it.
95% of my driving for Stevie Shunk Northern Logistics with the oil business, California, Oklahoma, the Dakota, Texas, West Virginia, Illinois, nothing, just dead. Shut the oil business down. Cheap gas, my wife would like it, but it's not good for us. It's too cheap. You knock these oil companies out of business. It's like a huge ship, they can't turn around on a dime and start back up.
Most of the country right now is my son dealing with people from college, because he's out of college right now, scattered around the country. We're the only ones that's paying over $1 a gallon right here in central Michigan. We're still, $1.50. You go to Muskegon, they said it's been under $1 for quite a while. A lot of the nation's been way down, under $1 a gallon. It's pretty bad. That affects everything. Affects road funding. People aren't driving. There's no road tax money. Roads they continue to deteriorate whether you're driving on them or not. So there's a lot coming down the road.
Jeff?
Yeah, nothing. And then maybe one thing, the Ace Township will probably be pleased that we've only got 2 commissioners that aren't rerunning. They were a little bit uncertain that there's gonna be a whole new crew because no one had their names in, but they'll be relieved to find that out. Other than that, I haven't heard no reporting from them for the city. So.
Okay, to the county budget. I'd like to say that since I'm not going to be running again, I would just as soon say goodbye and pack up my stuff and go out the door. But, we've got a budget that we've got to come up with by September the 30th. And when you take a look at this, I can't tell you how much time I've spent talking about this over the last little while. What do we cut? What do we do? What's going to happen? Folks, we are at the point of the back is against the wall. There is no room to go anywhere. So I would like to encourage you guys to take a look at what happens. And now, we're not going to let the state come in here and take this over. But you need to read about what the state does when they come into an area and take over. They take a look at the first thing, it's legacy cost. Insurance, retirement, and those things. I challenge the department heads to see if there's any place that they can cut people so that we don't have to go into them legacy costs. We've got to, we can't depend on the state to come in and bail us out because they're not there. We're bleeding money big time. And it's, in my last few months here, I think that it's up to me, and I think I'm obligated to the hardworking people of Clare County that have sent me up here to do that. I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of people that's relieved that I won't be here next year. But it is up to us to be able to figure out some way. If the departments can cut some stuff, that's fine. But we need to start looking at next year's budget now and see what we can do. We're going to have to take a look at things that are, there's going to be people that hate me worse than they already do that are here. We have to do it. We have to make some decisions that aren't going to be very popular. if the departments can offer us, I gotta be honest with you, I haven't had a whole lot of, maybe you guys have, of help from the other departments on things that they can give up. About any time we talk about cutting anything, we get challenged like, I can't do that. I gotta have these people, I gotta have this. You know, it was pointed out back to me that things were being said that we lack leadership because we didn't come up with a budget. We was more worried about getting reelected. Well, I'm not worried about that. We have to balance this budget coming up. It's gonna be painful.
Can I add to that, Jay?
Yeah.
I know you had asked me about a month ago to put together a committee to get with the department heads and get suggestions that we could bring to the board for ways to cut. Now, how many department heads do we have? 14, 15 department heads? I had Dawn send out a email to all the department heads to ask for suggestions. 2, 3, take 10 minutes and shoot me something so that we can discuss it in the committee. I had 2 department managers that gave me suggestions. That was it. One that actually come back and gave a snide comment to me about it, and I won't repeat. But the effort was there. We were trying to get something done. And I got really very little to no response from the department.
And I might add, it was right at the very beginning of the COVID crisis. We were all in emergency crisis mode. We weren't trying to work on the budget right then. I even spoke to Jack, and Jack said, don't worry about that request right now. We're worried about the county and the COVID crisis. That's why you didn't get the response. that you
There were
asked
some
for.
emails that I got that were pretty nasty, that were dissertations. The time that you took to write that nasty email to me, you could have given me 2 or 3 suggestions to take to the board. That's all we were asking was cooperation from the department heads.
We have talked and talked and talked about things that we could cut and things we could do. And listen, we all know the pushback we got when I suggested a 5% across the board cut. Look how that went over. I mean, it was a start. There is, anybody has any ideas how we can do this, let me know. But
Start with the non-mandated services. That's what the department heads have been saying. Start with the
well,
non-mandated
the
services.
non-mandated, like animal control
Yes.
and
You wanna cut
courthouse
animal control?
security.
It isn't
Yeah.
what I want. Don't twist on what I want. Animal control is asking to be put on the ballot, asking to be taken out of the budget, and you won't do it.
So in other words, you want to go to the people that are.
It isn't what I want. Ask the department heads, they're right here. Ask everyone. It's a need. Tracy, are we like $1 million short next year? You're not gonna get that cutting employees. Cut out 1 person out of mine or 2 out of Michelle, you're not gonna get $1 million. It isn't what we want. It's a necessity. We need to make cuts. Maybe we need to make cuts to employees. I'm not saying we don't. But we need to make cuts and look at the non-mandated services. And do I want to cut animal control or MSU? Absolutely not, any more than anyone else. It's a necessity. It's what we have to do. We have to
So
look
in
at
other
these.
words, you're saying keep you fully staffed.
I did
and
not
cut
say
some
that.
of the other ones.
I did not say that. You are twisting my words. I said, I agree, we may need to make cuts. I'm not telling you where to make the cuts. That's
Well,
not my
you know,
job.
what I'm saying is we need to look at the legacy cost.
Look at
We
it.
need to start right there. The insurance and retirement and the things, that's what the state
You
looks at
guys are
first.
sitting here saying you're not getting any feedback from the department heads. We have given feedback. Look at the minutes.
the
The feedback is
feedback is
in the
cut the
minutes. The
non-mandated.
suggestions are in there.
Cut the non-mandated.
That's a start.
Cut the non-mandated.
Do you wanna
You
see-
don't care
lay
about
out the
all
whole
the
thing?
people, all the people in this county that value the animal shelter.
Did I say I didn't care about all the people in this county that care about the animal
Well, you're
shelter?
saying cut the non-mandated.
Yes, I am. You're saying cut all the employees. You cannot get $1 million from cutting a base.
Anybody else?
What are the board's suggestions on cuts?
You got a hand there, Jimmy.
We had a comment from Stephen Sense asking which departments responded to the email with positive solutions. I think that might be directed toward you.
Two department heads, that was it.
He's asking which departments, if that's okay to,
And board of cops.
thank you.
You know, Jack, on that mandate, you got animal control, got veterans, you know, all these are mandated, 4-H and Mr. Extension. They're very important, some people just as much as mandated things, you know. It's a tough call, I understand.
Well, we've also determined that a lot of the non-mandated stuff is still gonna have to be done by somebody. We can cut, you know, if we cut animal control, and let's say it doesn't pass, somebody's gotta pick that up, which I believe is the sheriff's department, right? They have to pick that up.
Yes.
So just trying to take an overall view of what are the pros and cons of what could go wrong. We already said mail and postage was non-mandated. How are we gonna do business without being sending stuff in and out? There's a lot of things when you look down through the non-mandated that
Right, so you have to
majority
pick
of
and
that
choose.
still has to be done by somebody,
Right.
so. I guess my point is, it's not looking at a number and saying, well, we could save 50,000 by cutting mail. No, there's still gonna be mail there, it may
Right.
only end up being 30,000. So it's a little tricky to just say, you know, cut non-mandated, because again.
I said start with non-mandated, start there. I'm not saying cut all non-mandated. I know that's
Yeah.
not
Well,
realistic.
but that's what a lot of them in the public are saying. You guys gotta cut all non-mandated, but then when I explain what some of the non-mandated stuff is, I said, who's gonna do that? Don't you think that some of that's gonna have to be done? They're like, oh, yeah. I said, okay, so I'm just reminding the public, even though this line item might say $100,000, if we cut it, you can't just say 100,000. There's a portion of that that's still gonna have to be done, and there's a lot of cost to reorganizing to figure out how that's gonna. I realize it has to be done, but I'm just being clear that it's not a dollar for dollar, you know, necessarily across the board.
I've heard over and over and over in the board meeting, we offer services that we can't afford. And if the public wants those services, maybe they'll be willing to pay for them. We can't afford to continue the way we've been going and pay for all the services.
Right. Yeah.
Does animal control, they asked to be on the ballot?
Well, you know what, I mean, first of all, it's, road patrol is not mandated, but there isn't, I will never vote to cut road patrol. You know, that's what people expect us to want, but it's not mandated. So, you know, we don't have enough road patrol. And that's what the people of this county want us to do. There's other things that could go away and people wouldn't give a damn.
That was one of the suggestions, road patrol millage, see if it passes.
Well,
That's
you
what,
know
$1 million?
what?
Yeah.
If it doesn't pass, then you have to figure something else out. If it does, there's $1 million. And that's what the
handed
people
out-
want, if they voted it.
I handed out the millage language for
Road patrol, and this one's for animal control.
animal control and gypsy law for the three.
You wanna make a motion for animal control? Does anybody wanna make a motion for animal control?
As far as a motion for what?
Put
Put
this
it on
on the
ballot.
ballot. This one is the animal control.
Has Rudy
services.
requested they go on the ballot? or is it
No, but-
consolidation?
You know,
She hasn't requested it, but her and I have been talking and it would help.
I believe she did say
Is
that
she
in a
on the-
meeting, that
on the,
she would
uh,
rather
call
be on the
with us?
ballot than be in limbo
Rudy?
every year.
Exactly.
That is what she said.
I'd say put them on the ballot.
you make the motion.
I'll make the motion.
And I'll second it.
Yes, she is on that.
Moved by Jeff, seconded by David to put animal control millage on the ballot.
Which ballot?
It'd be
It
the
says
August.
August 4th.
August,
Yes.
okay?
Rudy, is that okay with you?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, we have really bad computers out here, so it took me a minute.
It's Okay. We were discussing putting, if you'd be okay with us putting you on the August 4th ballot.
Are you there, Rudy?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, there's some language on the bottom of it that concerned us when we looked at it. I didn't understand it about the townships or Surrey townships and could pull from it. I'm not sure what that means.
That's just standard legal language that has since I think it was about 2013 is when they started putting that on all millage proposals. But the state of Michigan allows downtown development authorities and local development financing authorities capture tax money from the commercial people paying taxes in their district. So it's just given the heads up that part of that may be captured.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. I didn't understand it.
You're welcome.
And those ballot languages came directly from the attorney.
Okay. Any more discussion about that? About putting that on the ballot? Okay, Laurie, please.
Pascal,
Yeah.
Conkling,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Majeski,
No.
Kleinhardt.
Yes.
Do we have a number for that resolution?
I'm getting that.
Anybody else want to mention the budget or anything?
Well, I keep hearing bits and pieces that some of our elected officials are meeting in a small group. Is there any fruits of that labors? Of what? I hear bits and pieces that some are meeting on a regular basis.
What are you hearing?
I'm just hearing that a group of people, I've heard you and the sheriff and Ambrositis and Jenny.
Absolutely. We're brainstorming, trying to figure out where to go from here with the budget.
So, I mean, what have you come up with?
I didn't bring my notes.
We gave you suggestions over 8 months ago. They were given to Tracy by the undersheriff. He's right here. You can't see him. There he is. He kind of fades in and out.
I didn't bring my notes with me,
Okay, so.
but we were talking about the animal offices, possible road patrol, possible animal control. Talking about how if the people want the service, basically what I just communicated, if people want the services, they will pay for them. In addition to, what was on the ballot?
Animal control.
Animal control. You
I
know,
think it's good everybody gets together and brainstorms. I think it's a wonderful thing.
Absolutely, it's healthy, it's teamwork, that's what we're supposed to be doing.
Can you guys hear me?
yeah, we can hear
No, I mean, yeah.
We have
Well,
another
one of the
comment.
There's a comment. Let me comment first. We do get together because we're scared as hell right now. I'm scared about my road patrol, my corrections, about the whole state of the county, and we're trying to figure some things out. Now, I know some suggestions were given to Tracy 8 months ago. You want to get in on that a little bit? And I don't know where that went or what happened with that. I don't know because I never heard anything back. But go ahead and go to the comment. I just wanted to make sure you understood that.
Yeah, first comment was from Dwayne, but John had already repeated it. But then Van Bon had left a comment that asking, were the suggestions given to Tracy by the undersheriff ever brought to the board for their consideration?
Who asked that question?
Donald Van Bon.
8 months ago?
I don't even recall it was, but I'll have to look, I guess. But I know there was a list in the minutes as well.
That was in December, yes. Thank you.
Is that the one where the raising a bunch of millages? Just those
I don't know,
specific-
I'd have to look back at my notes or at my stuff that I got from him to even see what that was.
What are these other two in front of us for?
Because I was providing you the information so that you would have all the options.
Being the other two villages, Jeff?
Yeah.
Yeah, these are the other two languages for the Gypsy Moth and the Road Patrol. If we put those on, this is what would be listed.
You have an opinion on these. I know Dale is, you're not for these, correct?
Jeff, can you say what these are?
These ballot proposals,
Which ones?
the Gypsy Moth and the Road Patrol.
Thank you.
But if these were to be put on the August ballot, it's not like we're deciding this, we're letting the people decide. And then if they say yes, then that gives us an avenue to actually maybe make the budget balanced. If they say no, then we'll have a direction to go also, because we know that's not what they want.
Exactly.
That's how I feel about it. I'm just throwing that out there that I know people don't want to pay a lot of money, but if they don't, then they vote no. And then they, it doesn't pass. Actually, I would feel that we're giving them a chance to decide. And that's probably their opinion matters more than anything right now.
Yeah, I agree with Jeff. My belief on villages has always been, it's up to the people, it's their money, and we should give them the chance to decide if they want to pay for it or not. And I don't think it's my job to tell them how to spend their money.
Are you a
Now,
taxpayer?
is it Sheriff's Department? You're on here.
Are you a taxpayer?
Do you feel that road patrol services is a good thing or a bad thing?
Were you asking us? I can't hardly hear without my headphones on.
I was asking the Sheriff's Department if you would be for a road patrol millage or against one.
Well, let me explain yes and no. I don't want to pay any more taxes, but I do because I believe in them, like for the schools and whatever else. And I vote no on some of them. I vote yes on some of them. But I hear Jack, and I love you, Jack. You talk about we're going to have to cut, and I look at $1 million cut or something. There's no way you're going to get $1 million just out of the courthouse. It's going to affect me, whether we like it or not. It's going to come across the river in between us here. I feel that's going to affect the protection of the county. And I can't foresee the future other than I keep seeing us going down, down, down. And you better put it out to public. This is what's happening. We're going to be this amount in the hole. And if we don't act or react to what we need to now, there may be a time where you don't see just a sheriff's car out there. You might not even see one unless it's paid for by a separate entity. That's how I honestly feel the way this is going. There's nothing positive moving in the right direction here where we need to go. Our jail revenue's down, no fault of ours because of the COVID. I get that. We're about 200,000 that we could figure now. Even if the governor cleared us up here to open back up, it's going to take the feds a while to get putting people back in jail and moving around. We won't let any inmates move in and out of our jail. But once that does start, you're still talking 3-4 months down the road where they probably even let us get to move the federal inmates. So taking all that in consideration, I feel that we don't have much of a choice other than to ask for that as security, because Jeff, 80-90% of my budget is wages. It is. Could I lay some people off? It's not going to be good.
I agree, John, but I would not want to put anything on the ballot that you weren't in favor of, is why I asked that question.
Well, I was explaining, yes, I am in favor because I see the.
Past, I feel they would need your support also to put it out there in public.
Absolutely, you have my support on it. Because I feel that we're heading in a bad direction where we won't have a road patrol.
Well, since Jeff did the last one.
We have another comment from Kent White. Says, I agree with the statement Jeff Haskell just made. Let the people help make the decision.
I'm sorry, Jesse, I missed it. Who was that from?
Ken Hoyt.
Thank you.
We've already got 2 ballot proposals on there. We got, Commissioner Extension and we have, animal control.
What's the third?
You got a surcharge on the
Gypsy
phones.
Moth.
Isn't Gypsy Moth on there already too?
No, but,
No, we haven't-
oh,
that one's
we
going.
could make someone could make a motion, but both of them on there.
Jack, I'm gonna make the motion to put the road patrol millage on the August 4th ballot. I think we need to get it in before we have the deadline for the next budget year, so we give the department heads all fair notice on whether or not they may have to cut things. You know, the people should decide if they're willing to have more money shelled out for this, and the county's in a bad way. We all know it, so I'm gonna make the motion now.
Okay. Second.
I'll second it.
Okay, moved by David, seconded by Jeff to put a, what, 1 mil, what is that?
1 mil.
It's 1 mil.
For road patrol on the ballot.
Have you guys thought about that financially? I know you have the proposals in front of you. One, if you're thinking about doing all of those, I'm not quite sure that the proposal amounts that you have on there are necessary.
We're not
But-
thinking of it, Jim. If that's what you're insisting, we're not thinking this ahead.
I can't hear you. What was that?
We're not thinking this ahead. I mean, you've also got to look at if there's a road patrol, how does that affect townships that already have their own road patrol millage? I mean, John can say what he wants, but
You get because you get dedicated patrol for that. This is for the whole county, Dale. You know this. We've explained this before.
it's not going to get
The
them
millage in
townships
Lincoln
any
Township.
better- It's not going to get them townships any better protection voting this in. You can tell me what you want, but it's not going to.
It will if we, give me a true number what we got to cut. Who does that? Tracy, what's the true number we're going to be at? What number are we at right now? What's our deficit? We always ask that, but we never get a good answer. Anybody?
Changes daily, we were just told today.
We're close to $1 million.
Well, and a lot of that's changed because of COVID. You
Well, yeah, we
things
don't
start
know where
jumbling
that's going to
together
be.
because if we were on the right track and then you interject COVID in there, that's a
The
different.
$1 million was before COVID. We talked about that because before, we don't know how COVID has impacted.
Okay, I thought that the $1 million was the COVID.
Well,
Last I
it was
looked,
roughly 800,000 at the last, but yeah.
300,000 short, if we stayed on this same.
For 2020, not for 2021.
Jenny's trying to say something, I think.
Okay, you know what I hear is just what feels like it's just a bunch of combative stuff. We need to work together. Everyone needs to open their minds on all sides. But right now, what I see, I'm the revenue side of this equation, and I'm not seeing where anyone is actually delving into the budget on a daily basis. I mean, I'm over here working my butt off on my stuff, and I'm having to see where we are because I have to come up with the cash for all of this, and I'm not seeing it being done. We need to be working on these and moving on these budget adjustments. The numbers that we have before COVID, we were in danger. I mean, right now, as the current budget stands, if we end, we're going to have another $500,000 deficit. So we need to really look at where we're at before we start making the decisions. We know that we really need help with the services that we have. Daryl had brought up at our department head meeting about the difference between, because they're in a pickle on the court side. If Claire decides to lay off and or furlough our employees, where does it leave them because Gladwin is not? It's a very good point. So I called and I talked to Gladwin. Gladwin has millage help. They're not in the same cash deficit that we are. So I'm not saying we have to ask for millage help, but if we want to keep the services we want, it's inevitable because we are going down. But we really need to be supporting each other on this and really get a group to work together that can have a neutral, open mind. We know every department wants to protect their department, and I get that, but we also know the Board of Commissioners need to make these decisions. So we either help them make the decisions or just let them cut all the budgets. But instead of worrying about 4 people trying to work together to come up with ideas, I think we all should be coming up with some positive ideas. And I don't know, you know, cuts are inevitable. But for the sake of all that's good for Clare County, we need to start coming together as a team. This is business. This is business. It's not personal. And I think everyone's taking all of this personal.
Can I make a comment here?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not the chair.
That's all right. Jenny, I appreciate all your remarks. They're excellent. And I agree with you. And I wanted to go back a little bit and say to Mark, I can't tell you how much I appreciated your discussion with Pete about the housing. That was so informative, and I appreciate it. And also your discussion about the senior citizens building in Clare. That was great too. It was positive, it was good. And Jack, when you first started talking about the whole budget thing and the state, that was very informative. I appreciate that as well. And I appreciate your thinking that you want to look at it in a holistic picture and how it's going to happen. That's good too. Dale, you mentioned that you sent out emails for people to give suggestions. I would tell you that this needs to be done face to face. Relationships need to be built. I think it's gotten into such an adversarial, and everybody's so protective now. They're covering themselves and they're ready to be adversarial, and that accomplishes nothing. Your county administrator needs to be out and about in every building, in every office, encouraging and building relationships. That's how you come up with good ideas. That's how you build teams. That's how you make the public see you as an entity that wants to go forward. When you have a positive relationship within the whole place, it's going to work. And that has to be done. Every time I come to these meetings or listen, it's very adversarial and it's going downhill quick. So you need to start there. You need to start with face-to-face and building relationships. People are more than willing to be positive. They're more than willing to help if they feel like they're being heard and their opinion is respected. That has to happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman. Man, before I personally, I said this in a number of meetings, people to vote on $1 million for another ticket of the people. And I want to see, who's going to be laid off, what concessions can be made on fires and insurance within the due process of the unions, and what concessions maybe on retirements. I need to see some cuts. And how much time do we have before we can make a decision, say on a road millage, patrol millage, before if they would put it on the November ballot?
I'll have to look that up.
Okay. See these concessions, can't vote for it today, but I see something. I bring it up, I bring insurance up. I talked about retirement. I talked about layoffs. I think I've said over and over, I think we got too many people employed for what we got here in Clare County, the second lowest county in the state of Michigan, in the poverty level.
I've been in contact with Jennifer Martin, and from 44 North will be, before this whole COVID-19 thing happened, but Jeff and I were gonna meet with her to talk over, because he understands the insurance as well, so we went to sit down with her, and then she'll be coming to the board.
It needs to be done sooner than later, you know, we have to have a special meeting.
And I don't, there was a lot of potential on some things we had working, but the whole COVID thing hit. There was another $170,000 that's obviously went bye-bye because of this, and the insurance, it was gonna go in a step in the right direction, so I agree with the working together, but there's some weird circumstances also happening here that,
Understand.
you know.
I think the other dynamic that we're dealing with, just to kind of put it in perspective, is, use it like an analogy, it's like this snowball, as it rolls down the hill, it gets bigger. And I'm not trying to, you know, kick the can way back to whenever, but it's like that snowball started growing, and it got, for years now, it's been getting out of hand, and unfortunately, to stop it now, there is no, you know, just put my foot out and stop it. You can't do that. It's bigger than that, and so it's gonna be a slow process bringing it down. It's gonna be a painful process, where if the snowball was the size of a baseball, you could stop it with your foot on the dime. But I think all these legacy things, it's maybe we need to learn from the past that some of these things have been building in the background, and they're finally reached a point where, like, oh crap, the only way to have arrested that would have been 10 years ago or 15 years ago, to start putting some things in place, seeing that in 10 or 15 years, what are these numbers going to do? So we're faced with things like a lot of communities are with the, I know with the retirement stuff, a lot of your you know, cities and municipalities, that's what's really killing them. They wanted to offer this stuff to the people.
8%, you know, with the interest at zero. Has anybody got a clue what our obligation is for MERS retirement? We're $20 million behind there.
You could call them up and they couldn't tell you.
Yeah, because they can't, somebody had asked me for, I don't remember who it was, but real-time, oh, yeah, I remember the conversation. Real-time information for MERS, and you can't get real-time information for MERS. They do it once a year, and that's when you get it. So when we were at a set point last year, that's where we're at. That hasn't changed, except for,
But they
I mean,
told
we
us
did
their
get an
projection
actuarial.
is on interest rate at 8%. And any interest rate below 8, or no interest rate is almost zero. or
They
minus
lowered it.
now. I mean, well, you know, so then our obligation goes up.
Yep.
It's gotta be way up.
We're
So
7.5 million unfunded.
Yes, where it wasn't, but we're still on target with what they're requesting that has to be paid in. And it's gone up.
You know, we just came off the hottest economy that any of us have seen in our lifetime. That's before the COVID. And we were still going down to rock bottom. What's that tell you? And now we're gonna go out there and ask the hardworking people that are scared to death, that to be able to pay their bills, that we're gonna ask a whole bunch of millages? It almost seems a little bit cruel to me. I grant you, we're
I
gonna
don't
have
agree
to
with
raise.
that. I think that if you're gonna explain to them
They're-
what it's for, they're gonna be able to voice their opinion. If they vote it down, we
They're
know what's
gonna
direction.
expect you to do what you can.
We are.
To cut some of them things and to do that, and then go in a fair deal and say, look, we did our part. We're not doing our part. We're not saying, okay, we're going to do this. This is hard work. It's not popular. Like I say, more people are gonna hate me before it's done than they already do. But it's our responsibility to say, we have cut everything we can, and now we need more money, and you people decide that.
Who makes the call if we're gonna have permanent layoffs, you know? Some people lose their job here, never to return. I mean, who makes that call? this was that one, this was that one, I mean,
Well, you know, when we talked about that, and I believe the department heads when they say we can't cut. But one thing we can look at is the legacy cost, and they're high here. Insurance, I don't want to cut anybody's insurance, and we're not gonna be cutting, but this is a golden insurance policy. You know, how much do you pay insurance? Just you. I pay $500 a month. What do you pay, Mark?
It's around that, yeah.
You know, I mean.
And that's not a gold plan either.
And I don't want to do, but we got to take a look at that. We can't continue on the path we're on and go to the taxpayers that are struggling right now. How many businesses in this county won't reopen after this? Because
That's a good question. It really is.
they've lost their revenue. They're scared to death. And so we're going to just throw out a whole bunch of millages and say, let the people decide?
Well, that's why I say, you know, I got people saying to me, all this money that, you know, the state's paying out to people during the thing and the federal, they know that has to come from them, and they're afraid that sooner or later their taxes are gonna go up at a state and federal level. I guess you could be, that's a bad way to say it, say, well, first in line to get some tax increases here, but at the end of the day, all this has to be paid by somebody. It's gonna be taxpayers. They can't keep, like I say, you can't keep finding the money tree somewhere that we're spending trillions and trillions and billions of dollars right now. And again, a lot of people think they need it, they deserve it. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but somebody's got to pay that bill sooner or later. It's going to come due. We're faced with the bill coming due right now in our own little world. And the big bill to become due is the state. They're borrowing money because they're going broke, and we haven't gotten reimbursed for our COVID stuff at the county here. So they're gonna have to borrow money from somebody, and then if they get money from the federal government, they're gonna have to borrow money from somebody. Going up the
Jack,
line.
can I make a suggestion, Jack? Can you hear me? Maybe we ought to look at, put the animal control on. I don't know, I can't, I'm so mixed up what's happening. I can't hear that good because Dwayne can't hear unless I unplug my headphones, and I can't hear anyways. But anyways, maybe I would say, let's put the animal control on in August and see where we're at 100%. We need some good numbers here to say how much we got to cut, because like I said, you can't cut all that out of the courthouse because someone's going to come out of my pocket. I understand that. I accept that. But it would give us a better idea what we got to look at down for November. Does that make sense? Because we have time for November, right?
Makes a lot of sense.
what do we got? We got animal control on until August, right?
Yes.
And like you said, we'll know that. And then Laurie, if you can give us the information, what's the drop dead date? We gotta make a decision on.
August 11th.
August 11th.
Okay, so we have time for that, and just something, and Leonard, and I love, you know this, but, I feel like, you know, okay, we can work with the insurance a little bit, but I still need something to attract people here. I can't attract them here. I lost 2 that I hired here recently in 3 months that go south of us, and I understand we can't pay them that, but if we at least can give them some decent insurance, and I'm willing to lose a couple people and give them good insurance than to have a bunch of people here taking more money out of what they don't get paid. And I've said that before. So just so it's on record, I said that.
Okay, anybody else want to comment?
Well, the fact that you have a motion on the floor.
John, do you want
to table it for now?
I think we should table it for that last conversation.
We have more comments in the section if we're ready to address them.
Okay.
We have 2 comments and a question. The first comment was from Deb Hoyt. She says, Hayes Township will have a fire protection millage renewal on the ballot. Resolution was approved last night at the Hayes Township Board meeting.
Is that for August?
She didn't say.
Oh, okay.
Steven Sense had a question, says back to Van Bond's question, were those listed suggestions sent to the board?
They were brought to the board.
Okay.
Actually, Dwayne was here. It was during budget process. Dwayne was here and we were talking about him then.
And then David Aldrich has a statement. He says, as the union representative for the road patrol deputies, how do you propose we keep the county safe if the road patrol was cut? The state police cannot handle the complaint call load that we carry. We are already the lowest paid sheriff's department in the state and half the size of what we were when I started 12 years ago. The cuts always seem to come from our side of the alleyway. I think it's time to make some serious cuts within the county building.
Yeah, good point.
I think we've all pretty well been in unison. We do not want to cut road patrol. And I realize through nutrition and that, and they can get better paying jobs, they're leaving for them. And it sucks to be us, I guess, but I am a big supporter of road patrol. I think we made that clear that people, that's what people want. They want to see cops on the street. They don't care about some of the other things we do, but they want to see cops on the street. So it's picking winners and losers. I think that we have to take a look. I think John's suggestion that we hold off until we've got till August. But I challenge the departments to do what they can first. I'm not against raising more revenue. But I think that I owe it to the people, and especially at this time, couldn't be a worse time to throw millages at them. They're scared. They don't know what's gonna happen. They just got assessment increases. They just got this, but we've already decided to put some millages out there. And we'll stay by that.
What about that gypsy moth?
There's another thing. I mean, people have asked about that. They wanna, I don't know,
It pretty much has to probably be on the August ballot before, or we'll be totally out of money to do anything for next year. I feel.
Go ahead.
Deb has updated her comment to say that the Hayes Township millage renewal will be on the August ballot.
Okay, thank you.
Interesting, this is an interesting thought on the gypsy moth. Does any community do it by township? Can the township do their own gypsy moth? Or not? I mean, I'm just throwing it out there because I feel for the people that need it and want it, they have a real problem. And then there's other areas where it's not really as much of an issue. And the two, when you try to work that out, it kind of, it washes each other out. I know it makes it more of a financial burden for the individual township that has more of a problem, but I don't know. I'm just there for them in the sense to get it when maybe there's a bunch of the county that wouldn't necessarily support it. I don't know.
I don't know how widespread it is. Obviously, in this area, it's always been very bad in north. It's gotta be south
the
there.
agricultural land. There's like
Yeah, it's some wooded areas, yeah. Yeah,
I just had a
so,
couple things I have to say. You want to table that motion, though?
I don't know is another good answer. I'm just throwing that out there. Obviously, for an individual township or 2 or 3 townships to foot the bill 100% for their gypsy moth.
that's fine, I agree. It can be voted on, obviously.
Yeah.
But if
I'm
it's
just
going
trying to
to,
think outside the box.
if we're gonna do our job, it needs to probably go on August ballot, so that'll still give it time to get some tax revenue for the following year. Am I correct there, Lori?
I'm
Can you
not
help
sure.
me with that?
Jenny, do you know?
What was that?
If the gypsy moth passed in August, would it have money in the account for 2021?
Yes. If it, well, you'd have to have the language to where it was effective for the 2021,
November would be too late, wouldn't it?
no, you can still do it in November, but it would hold up equalization's assessment to get the tax bills out. But if it was on the November ballot, as soon as it would pass, then the equalization would be able to print all the bills out once it was on there. But it would have to be on November's to get it for 2021.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So tabling that motion. motion?
If you table a motion, it can only be tabled for one meeting, just so you know, that's the definition of
Then we-
tabling.
Can they,
Can we
Do you want me
just
to
pull it?
withdraw the motion?
You can,
David
rescind
had
it.
rescinded.
Yeah, I'll rescind it down.
And it's in the form of a motion, you make a motion to rescind, there needs to be a second and a vote.
I motion to rescind my previous motion
Regarding road patrol.
regarding the road patrol village.
Can I have a second, please?
Seconded.
Moved by David, seconded by Jeff. to, Withdraw the motion on the road patrol millage. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Can I take a roll call?
Yeah, that's right, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Hoefling,
Yes.
Haskell,
Yeah.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Strauss.
Yeah.
Majeski.
Yes.
Kleinhardt.
Yes.
so you want me to go ahead and?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to, first of all, say that MAC has been meeting with the governor with regards to funding for, the governments. We don't know where that's going as of yet. Not holding my breath on any of it, but, just wanted you to be aware of that. And second, one of the things that I didn't inform you about, and I believe that you already know this, but with regards to, unemployment, there is, in one of the executive orders, it states that none of, no organizations will be charged additional for, unemployment. Well, unfortunately, governments pay as you go. So if we have somebody go on unemployment, then they charge us back for that. So, the question has been raised by MAC to the governor's office, how they're handling, government offices.
Mute them, Jesse.
I just did.
Oh, thank you.
So, I'm waiting to hear back on that, and I should know something by the end of the week, and I'll keep you informed on that. So, my question to the board is, if the executive order is extended past April, what are we doing? Are we looking at furloughs? Are we,
I suppose we have much choice, we're probably gonna have to. I mean, we're probably at that
Yeah.
point right now where if the workload is down,
I say we start telling the department heads to plan and look for it. And first, look at anybody in your department that wants to take an early retirement, if there is anybody. Second, you look at somebody who wants to take a voluntary layoff.
There
And third,
may be people that are willing to take early retirements if
That's right.
you offer something, not just to retire early.
We have, at this time, we have to furlough, we can't lay off is a lot of people. You can't pull people's insurance from them during this right now.
well,
You can't do that.
you can do it on, you can do that on unemployment too. You can keep them on the insurance.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking furlough as,
Right, a short period of time off to come
Right.
back.
so the employee's looking at it, okay, it's a furlough, I'm going back to work.
Right. I think the department heads should, I think they should plan that this is gonna go on, because my gut feeling is it's gonna go on past the end of the month. Especially with our numbers climbing like
I
they are,
agree.
and the deaths are climbing like
I
they
do
are.
agree.
So better to plan for it and not have to use it than to get to the end and all of a sudden now you've got a fire that you gotta put out. So you look at, ask anybody if they wanna take an early retirement, then take voluntary layoff.
Well, if you're gonna give some early retirement, you gotta give some incentive, and then you've gotta say you're not gonna replace that early.
Well, let's see if we've got any
Or
takers.
else you're not going to
first.
gain anything.
Right, let's see if we got any takers for that.
Yeah.
Did you send that out to the department heads then and say that's something we're looking at?
We just did that. a
Yeah,
few
we
months
talked
ago.
about, yeah, we had a department head meeting and talked about furloughs and,
No, I mean,
Early retirement.
voluntary early retirements we discussed, and some of the employees said they would be willing if the county would continue to pay their health insurance for a year or 2 years or whatever that would look like. So that there are some that are interested and have said, yes, we would,
That's a good
but
point.
what will the county do for me for doing that?
Yeah, we'd like to know, yeah, if we get some names, yeah, we have, like Jackson, like you said, yeah, you gotta throw them something.
Well, that's what they're saying, that's what they're saying.
Sure.
Yeah.
So if you're
That-
willing
that
to do
was
that,
We can get true numbers.
Well, again, early retirements help if you're gonna cut back on, but if you're gonna go hire somebody to replace.
Well, we
them,
can't
you've
replace
lost
them.
No,
everything.
these would be positions you don't
So it's
replace.
gonna be up to the department heads. What if 2 or 3 people in a department say, I'll take it. You pay your
so you
insurance.
have a department of 3 and 2
Yeah,
people
I
take the
mean,
early retirement and you're not
So
gonna
you
replace
can't,
them?
Well, we can't do that.
you're
Yeah,
not
you have to
going,
do some replacement.
you're gonna lose on the long run if you offer retirement and it cuts the only way you can make a benefit is if early retirements cut your staff.
And that's where I was going with it. I wasn't going to look at people retiring, taking it early out, we give them an incentive, and then we gotta replace them. That makes no sense to do that.
No,
You've gotta look at departments that have a person that has the potential to take the early retirement that you're not going to replace. Because it makes no sense to let somebody retire and carry their insurance for a year, and then you're just gonna replace them with someone. You've accomplished nothing.
I can't pick and choose. If you're gonna offer that, you gotta honor everybody, correct or no?
We don't have to honor, but we can take suggestions.
No, yeah, but I think what you're saying is once you make an offer on the table, it has to be equal to anybody that wants to accept it.
Right, and I think honestly, I could be wrong, but I think it's up to the department heads to who they wanna lay off or who they would let retire or
It
anything.
isn't, it's up to the union. It's
Well,
seniority.
okay, we don't have that say with the individual peoples or the individual departments. Do we control the purse strings? Yeah.
So what if we go back and we ask our employees, is anyone interested in early retirement with 1 to 2 year health insurance paid? What are you offering? And with no replacement in that office, so say I have one person that wants to, then I understand that I can't replace, but if I have 2 people that want to, and it would hurt my office and I couldn't run that
We'd
department,
have to replace one.
then we could bring that to you and we could say, okay, I have 2 people, but I can really only be without 1, then you make that decision.
But then
We
we
could hire,
wouldn't accomplish
replace the other
anything
one.
by getting
lower
rid of the
rate.
other one and then having to rehire to fill that position.
Tracy, do you know how that would work with the union, how we can offer
Would
that
it
and then pick and
offset it
choose
a
who
little
gets
bit,
it?
Dale, if
We could hire
you're
them.
hiring somebody at an entry level compared to
Well,
a
if
top
you-
scale to retire, would that
a
offset that
little
to make
bit,
that feasible?
but you're gonna have to pay, you're paying
Oh, I
insurance.
know, I
You're
know.
gonna have to pay, so it's gonna be a net
Well,
loss.
We could hire at a
Other than
lower
that,
rate
you
though,
know,
probably too, Jack.
a few years ago, MDOT and the state offered early retirements. So they retired a lot of people. Many of them retired on Friday and went back to work as a private consultant on Monday. They already went to work right back on the same job, but the state didn't have to pay the fringe benefits, didn't have to pay the retirement. They just paid them for the job they was doing. Now, I don't know how we can do that here with the unions and things, but that's what MDOT did.
And you can't draw the MERS for, what is it, 2 years or something after you retire? If you retire and start
Well,
drawing
see,
MERS, you
now
can't.
you can't. Now they've
Right.
changed it, so you've gotta
You
have
can't
a
double dip in a
years,
sense.
you gotta have a years, but there's a lot of people that did that back a few years ago with MDOT, so.
Here's my point. You don't want to get rid of somebody that's got 15 years in the clerk's department just to go and hire somebody that has no experience.
Right, but what I'm saying, say I, I'm just gonna throw a number out, I can't, but say I can lose 3 people, but 5 people wanna retire. How do I pick, Tracy, how do I pick those 5 people? Is it by seniority? Do I say, okay, only 3 of you can retire early because that's all I can afford
I
to
don't
lose
I don't
without?
think that'd be up to your
The union has a lot to do with it. I can't just say, okay,
Right, I would think
you
that.
can retire and you can't.
Well,
Isn't it up to, is
you're
it by
gonna go
seniority
with
for
the
the union?
highest,
or-
the highest seniority person that wants to retire would be the one that would have the right.
So let everyone put their opinion in that, yes, I want to, and then leave it up to the department head how many they can actually lose.
You know, from what I've been hearing from the departments, they can't afford to lose any.
I would like to know, just for starters, the number of people that are willing to even entertain it.
That's what I'm getting
And
at.
then-
Yeah.
That's.
We'll start there, and then I don't think there's any problem with them telling us, say, hey, I'm willing to do this, but we're gonna negotiate and I'm on the table, I want a year's worth of insurance, then it's up to us to decide however that negotiation, because we can pick up some, start throwing stuff that we don't know. I would rather the employee, if they can put it on the table and say, yes, I'm willing to retire, but under these conditions, then it comes to us or however that needs to happen. And then there's a negotiation, we can fine tune. Now, we won't do 2 years, but we'll do a year, whatever it works out to be. Then you negotiate it out. But whatever that negotiation, I'm assuming would have to be even for every employee.
I really think we need to just figure out what numbers we're dealing with, because if it's only one person, it's gonna be a lot easier to say, we'll give you a year insurance if you retire now, rather than 10 people. You know what I mean?
But you have
If you're
to,
not rehiring those 10 people, the savings is huge.
That's right.
but once the offer's on the table, you could have 5 people that could, but they don't say no, one does, and then all of a sudden you got
Let's see if we got
6.
any
So,
takers, first of all. Let's just.
but I agree, we need to know how many we're dealing with.
Yeah, yep.
So have the employees make the first offer.
That's what I'm thinking, if that's legal to do,
That's interesting.
if they're interested in what their terms would be to entertain that, then.
How are we doing, Jay?
Okay, yeah, anybody else have any?
So, to be clear, I am letting the unions know that, if the executive order is extended past the end of April, that we are looking at furloughs. Correct?
Well, yeah, we got to.
Okay.
And then Tracy, furlough, is that 2 days a week they're not working, 3 days a week they're not working, or a whole week they're not working? What does that mean for furlough?
So I think it would be on a case-by-case basis. So I have some employees that could work, 3 days a week and have 2 days, so that, I just want you to know, they can still collect unemployment on furlough. So if they are off, if they are put off for the whole week, then they get that unemployment for that whole time.
Yeah, I would think you're looking at a furlough with the actual full layoff, but we carry the health insurance during the layoff. That's what I was thinking.
You think it'll be extended?
Yeah.
I don't.
No?
I think we're going back to work.
You know what's gonna happen if that happens?
I hear you, and you're not going to, I'm still
We'll
gonna
all be
say,
wearing masks in here next meeting.
we will be.
Yeah.
So I said it's.
No matter what happens, somebody's gonna die and somebody's gonna be, you're gonna have an attorney on the TV saying, if you were harmed by going back to work, then.
The economic damage is going to be too severe for them to extend.
I understand the economic damage and all that, and nobody wants what's going on now. But here's the thing, I'm a first responder.
I agree.
And I go to 30, 40, 50 people's different houses. And if this stuff starts spreading and it starts getting into the workforce even deeper than it is, your businesses are gonna shut down anyways because they'll have no employees. And then it's putting my life, my family, and my other first responders in danger.
I look at the whole thing like it's like,
Jesse? Go ahead, Mark.
I use the analogy of a car or a truck. You can stop it a hell of a lot faster than you can speed it up. So to go from 60 to 0 is easy. Going from 0 to 60 is hard. We slowed this down relatively quick. I think the takeoff, once we open it back up, is gonna be a year or more. It's gonna take a long time to
I
get
don't
back up
think
to
we'll
speed.
ever recover to where we was in my lifetime.
Oh, I
We're
think
done right now.
You didn't adjourn.
Did we adjourn?
Jesse had something too.
Okay,
We've got
Jesse.
several comments that come in the comment section if we want to address.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. The first one that came in was from David Aldrich. He's asking, as for concessions for healthcare and retirement for road deputies, how can I ask underpaid and overworked law enforcement officers to give away more? Next comment is from Dusty. She says, I know we talked about the cleaning company before, how asking each department to clean their own space, then have trustees come over and clean the hallways and public bathrooms. We can get with Tracy to get our supplies that we need. That would save you $80,000. Deb Hoyt has asked Could not hear the vote from the last roll call vote. Could Lori tell us if it passed and how each commissioner voted?
If that was the rescind the road patrol motion, Hofling, yes. Haskell, yes. Fitzpatrick, yes. Strauss, yes. Majeski, yes. Kleinhardt, yes, and it passed.
Okay.
To rescind the motion to put the road patrol on the August ballot.
And Shalice said, if you have furloughs, who/how would pay the employee's portion of the insurance premiums? Right now, it comes out of their paycheck as a deduction.
Right, and they would have to pay that. It would probably, they'd be billed for that portion.
Okay. And Mally 1A said, as to the comment of having the trustees come over and clean the hallways, corrections is in the same shape as the road as far as personnel. If we take an officer off the floor to escort the trustees over to the county building, that would present an officer safety issue for the officers left in the jail. And that's the end of the comments.
Anything else, folks?
Yeah, computer guy did good work here today.
Thanks.
Glad we had good response from the community.
Hey Jeff, where'd you get your haircut, man? What's it?
My wife did it, Leonard. Yeah.
Taking out of work?
There was another
She
one.
cut mine and my dad's hair yesterday.
Good.
The electric head strip.
Yeah, a funny thing
And
about that is I
animal
went to
control,
Harrison
I don't have that in our work.
to buy a pair of shears because I thought the one, we didn't have any.
He said he'll
Well,
come back.
Haircut shears, they're all sold out.
I have several things to
And
sign.
we got lucky, we found 3 pairs though, so I've got some for sale if anybody wants them.
$200? Is that along with the $40
Any of
roll
you
of
guys
toilet
having
paper?
haircut issues? I see you're not.
We just done one, my wife did it.
Yeah, I do my
I
husband
was
too.
scared to death.
Can you imagine the backlog at dentist's office? Eye care,
Haircuts,
but you take the dentist and the eye care, they've been backed up for months.
look at the bank, we tried to go to the bank, and goes to the drive-through, they're like,
What
no.
now?
We do a lot of stuff online, and I'm glad we started it a while back.
Yeah.
Just because.
Go butcher, right, the next one.
All right, so are we officially wrapped?
Yeah, we're done.
All right.